it all on you.
Hey there, comic book friends. I'm Travis, and the Comic Book Roundtable is back. Briefly, but it is back. Yay. And I have Damien with me here, Sleepy Reader 66. How's it going, sir?
I am glad to be here.
Well, I'm happy to have you.
Oh,
For
sorry.
a while.
Oh.
Go ahead.
No, I just had us blare at us.
Oh, okay. No, I'm happy to be back. Things have kind of changed. I have had to tweak my camera. I don't know. Hopefully that all gets squared away. I'm here this week. I won't be here next week, but then hopefully I go back to some normal comic book living routine.
You mentioned the summer might be a little calmer for you.
Yes, work will be leveled out supposedly then. I don't know. I've been saying that for a year now and it hasn't happened yet, but children will be graduated and doing whatever children do over the summer after they graduate, and that won't have anything to do with me. So yes, I can go back to my normal comic book living, hopefully. Anyway, so we're going to talk last week's books, and we're going to talk a smattering of this week's books, because I had mentioned on Twitter that I was ahead on my reading. I didn't get quite as far ahead as I thought I was going to, but since I won't be here next week to talk about this week's books. We'll kind of talk about them now as much as I can. You can talk about them as much as you want to or whatnot.
Cool. And we decided to just fold them in together. So
Right. So we're just going to
be a hodgepodge of 2 weeks worth of books.
Exactly. So we're going to start out by jumping right into Marvel books. I have 3 Marvel books I read this week. This is my Marvel week, I guess.
I read one that is all your fault.
Oh yeah. Nice.
The Incredible Hulk. I'm sorry, the Immortal Hulk.
Immortal Hulk. So did you just jump into this issue?
I did. I have read like the first 5 issues, I guess, and then I jumped into this issue 17.
Okay.
And it was a great read. I mean, I know that there would have been more for me to understand, but it was a lot of fun, and I was really glad that I jumped in. I was trepidatious about it, but
right. So for me, it's interesting. It's interesting in 2 ways. I could see from your perspective, not knowing the actual story that's going on right this second, like the person that he fights, the cyborg that he fights in this thing, and exactly what the situation at this moment is. But then I think it had stuff in this that you, being, I think, more of a Hulk fan than maybe I am, or have read more Hulk than I have. There's parts of this that's totally new information to me, because I am reading the Hulk completely blind of any real information about the Hulk. The only thing I ever know about the Hulk is he's big and green and he smashes stuff. When I've read the Avengers and he's been in it or something like that, I've not read Hulk stuff. So,
well, they talked about the corpse of Rick Jones.
Right.
I did not know Rick Jones was dead, but obviously people die and come back all the time.
Right. So this whole Hulk back when he was like a bodyguard for somebody in Vegas, that whole...
Oh, right. I have not read many of those, but I'm familiar with it. He became a mobster named Joe something.
Yeah, and that's when he was the gray-skinned Hulk and stuff.
I think that was part of Peter David's run. I'm not positive.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think he was a bit of a... I may have it wrong again. I really haven't read much of that Joe Chill, or not Joe Chill, whatever he was called, but I haven't read much of that. But I thought maybe it was a bit of a comedic period.
Yeah, Joe Fix-It.
Joe Fix-It, right?
Yeah, so they got him kind of I don't know, wearing a bowler hat, and
that's a great picture,
right? So there's stuff in, like I said, that it references stuff that I don't know, but it still gives me enough information to kind of go, oh, okay, this is a new buried, not a new, or an old buried personality that's within Banner. So Banner is coming across more and more to me like he's schizophrenic in some sense, that he's got these other personalities that are riding around him. And I find that all rather interesting with this whole thing that's going on.
And that's certainly been played, what's the line between Banner and other personalities and stuff. And of course, the Hulk has been different over the years. And some writers try to incorporate that's all part of the same spectrum of, not trying to pretend it didn't happen, but like there's a period where the Hulk was really dumb. And then there's a period where the Hulk is really smart. And
Right. And in this, he's now referred to, well, the Hulk part of him is referred to as Devil Hulk.
Ah, I didn't
Right.
know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, so yeah, they reference him as Devil Hulk because he's he's evil. He wants to like destroy the world in some sense or another.
Okay. So I was not aware of that from my little bit of reading earlier.
Yeah. Yeah. His because in the last couple issues, he's been hanging out with Doc Samson.
Okay.
And he reveals, and he reveals to him that he wants to, that humans are evil. We're destroying the world. The whole,
right.
We're
environmental kind of thing.
We're consuming all the resources and whatnot. And the Hulk's like, it wouldn't be a bad thing if I just kind of rampaged and killed a whole bunch of people. I mean, it would actually help the planet. So, so he's kind of, this, what is the Hulk really kind of a thing. I thought this was another fun issue. Like I said, it's got enough just kind of crazy stuff going on in it. I love the art. I continue to really love the art. I love the panel layouts, the way that all works. When it's some action or something dramatic's going on, right. The frames all get tilted on their sides and, strange things.
Great coloring to go with this art. Let me see.
Yes.
Who's the colorist? Paul Mounce. Kind of a traditional Marvel colorist at this point, but doing a very good job here. I guess I should turn on the color on my thing. But yeah, I was impressed by the kind of combination of the line art and the color art.
Right. Well, it's just very bold and bombastic. I just really like. Right. I really like it for that.
Yeah, it's very strong in your visual face.
Right. And in this issue, between Banner and the Hulk. They trick the guys they're trying, the government that's trying to capture him, and he becomes like, I don't know, Uber Hulk or something at the end of it.
Have we seen something like this before with multiple faces and things?
No, this is like next level sort of stuff.
It kind of evokes the look of some of Hulk's villains back in the 70s.
Yeah. Well, and he's tangled with other stuff like this. I mean, at one point, Absorbing Man absorbs a bunch of radiation and starts looking like this also, and he battles that, and I think we're going to get more of that kind of thing. At the hint at the end of this issue of their, no human's going to make a mistake again monster that they have at the end of the issue. I would assume we're going to get to see a bunch of, big monstrous things tearing each other up, I would guess, in the coming issues.
Right. And this is some kind of revival of the corpse of the Abomination.
Right.
The title of the story was Abomination, but the Hulk himself is kind of an abomination, especially at this point. So I wonder if that was meant to have a double meaning.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm just really curious about this other personality that, Banner supposedly has had suppressed. Are we going to see more of that? Is Banner gone, or was this just a temporary kind of thing? And like I said, so then they start playing more into the the split personality aspect even harder with the character, which I find all really interesting. I mean, this issue is less horror oriented than it is monster oriented, I guess.
Right. It was kind of a very high action issue, even though I like the way it combined a lot of action and a lot of content personality wise and such. Characterization. But so now from what you've told me, I'm wondering, is Banner himself, the Banner personality, want to destroy humanity also? Are they working in concert?
No, well, they're not. I mean, he's kind of rolling with where Hulk wants to go, because Hulk is actually the smarter one now. He keeps, in the earlier issues, he references Hulk being the smarter one. And Banner's just kind of like, along for the ride. Banner's kind of trying to hide for a while anyways. We haven't really gotten a lot of Banner since the early issues to know what Banner's desires are. Because to start out with, Banner's desire was just to kind of stay hidden, because he supposedly has been killed. This is his first coming back since having been killed by Hawkeye and whatnot. So we haven't had a lot of Banner lately, so I'll be curious to see what.
And I guess I kept thinking this was part Banner and part Joe Fixit, but maybe it was all Joe Fixit in this Banner looking body.
Yeah.
And I guess Joe Fixit is okay with the plan to destroy humanity. Anyway, a lot of interesting layers to this. So, and I'm gonna dig back, and I've been scouring stores for back issues of the Hulk, and it's one of the hardest things to find.
Well, I hear it's going for a lot of money and stuff, like in the secondary market and whatnot, eBay and whatnot.
Well, I'm not trying to get number one. I mean, the ones I read that are available to me digitally at the moment, I'll be happy with those. But I'm trying to get the ones after issue 6.
Right.
But I think I may just buy trades.
Yeah, it's like I said. Yeah, it's clearly a pretty hot comic as far as that goes. Mike Sergeant America's not here tonight, but I will complain for him. This is a Marvel cover, and when I went to scan this in with my app, I couldn't because I had already, you can't see it, but I'd already fingerprinted the barcode, so the barcode is unreadable because
of the ink being so cheap.
Right, on the cover of these things.
Look at that. My barcode's kind of smeared too.
Or maybe it's just maybe it's a manufacturing problem. Then maybe it's not just my issue. I thought maybe somehow.
I think I might have smeared it with my fingers because I don't throw them in bags for quite a while.
Yeah. But yeah, so I couldn't get it to scan. I had to actually manually punch it in or whatnot. Not that that's the end of the world, but it reminded me once again, oh yeah, this is really cheap cover stock.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, I'm kind of sad when there's a good Marvel book because I kind of want to just avoid Marvel because of the cheapness and the ripoffs that they like to do.
Right.
Yet, despite that, I'm still getting Guardians of the Galaxy.
And how's that going?
Actually, it finally got good with issue 5. And I think this is the penultimate issue of the story with Thanos coming back with Hela's help. And just as I suspected, I guess this is a spoiler for people, Thanos' spirit was actually hiding in Eros' body, his brother's. And Eros was the one telling everybody to go out and kill Gamora because that's where Thanos' spirit was hiding. But none of those superheroes were as smart as me. Anyway. Oh, and there's a fun callback. Beta Ray Bill, who's now a member of the Guardians, calls on Lockjaw to help them find Gamora, because one group is wanting to kill Gamora and the other group wants to save her. But let's see, someone says Black Bolt no longer has his powers, and his vast majority of the Inhumans are dead or in hiding, slaughtered by a being named Vox under orders from a mad band of Kree. And the guy from Guardians of the Galaxy says, wait, what? How did I not hear about that? And he answers, not many did. It's a joke on the low sales of the Inhuman comics.
Right. Yeah.
This is a Donny Cates book, and it's drawn by Jeff Shaw, or I think that's his name, something Shaw. Yeah, Jeff Shaw, who was with him on the God Country book.
Oh.
And so that's why I was excited to get this, but it had been kind of a weak comic, but it seems to be finally gaining some steam. So that's good.
Yeah. There aren't any Inhuman comics anymore, right? I mean, they're all gone.
They had a bazillion of them, and now they're all gone.
Well, it was like this heavy push, like they were going to replace the X-Men for a while. You know, there was that whole rumor of they're going to get rid of the X-Men because X-Men were owned by Fox at the time. They're going to make the Inhumans be the new X-Men, and that was going to be the, the big thing, and it just never really.
Yeah, no matter how much they tried, no one cared about the Inhumans that way, which is sad. I like the original Inhuman setup.
Same here, but yeah.
But anyway, now Marvel's got the X-Men. I mean, Disney's got the X-Men.
Yes.
Back, so I guess that's not a worry anymore.
Yes. Now they can go about abusing the franchise again or setting it right, whatever, depending on what you believe of Hickman. So now. Let's see, other Marvel books that I picked up. Daredevil issue number 5. I'm actually really, I've been kind of, this is okay. It's not really treading.
I remember you thought it was just sort of middle of the road.
Yeah, it's not. It's kind of treading the same ground it has. I really like this issue. So as per usual, Daredevil is really wrecked. He's injured beyond what he should be. He's still out trying to fight, everything and whatnot. He's fighting the fact that that he's being framed for murder, from like issue 1 or 2. So he's brawled with the cops. He's brawled with everybody. He's heard about the Owl is going to be running some drugs, so he's going to go and beat up the Owl. He's just escaped the Punisher because the Punisher actually rescued him, helped him, and then he got into a huge fight with the Punisher. And basically beats the Punisher up and then runs away. So in this issue, he's going after the Owl. One of the things I think is great is he's wearing a Punisher shirt and does not realize it. So he's running around with a black shirt with a skull on it and does not even realize it because he just needed a shirt when he was escaping Punisher's place.
And problems of blind people.
Right. So of course he's extra frightening because he shows up wearing the Daredevil mask, wearing a Punisher shirt. So it's like, everybody in Hell's Kitchen's like, oh my, is he gonna just beat me up really bad, or is he gonna kill me now? Sort of a thing. So some great action of him brawling with some people and getting in this massive fight. He's about to get his ass beat again. And he's been beat up in almost every single issue now. And Luke Cage and Jessica Jones and Iron Fist, Danny, they show up and save him. They help him. They help beat up all the bad guys. And he's like, oh, they're here to help. They're here to help. Yay. And then he thinks, oh no, they're really here because they think I'm a murderer. And they're coming to get me because I'm a murderer. That's why they're here. They're not here to help me. They're actually here to catch me. He gets knocked unconscious, wakes up, and those three are there. And he's like, okay, give me a second to get a drink, get my thoughts about me. I know why you're here. I murdered you guys think I murdered somebody. And you know what? I didn't want to admit it, but I did. I think I actually accidentally killed that guy. And they're all like, oh, it happens. They're all like, it happens. We've all had to go through this. At some point when we're doing this kind of work, there's no way accidents don't happen, that people don't get hurt. It happens. You just have to figure out how to make right with it and whatnot. And you're acting like a crazy person. And he's now freaking out because, Matt Murdock, murder is a line you don't cross. And he's like, you're all murderers? He's like, you're all horrible. It's like, so he's completely losing it, gets calmed down, goes off to the bathroom, and then runs away. He goes home. He's figuring, I've got to rest up. I need to heal, and then I'll figure out what I'm going to do. And somebody else shows up in his house, and it's Spider-Man. And Spider-Man gives him the equivalent of, sorry, Dad, you're too old. You shouldn't drive anymore. I'm taking your car keys. He gives Matt Murdock that speech. We're all gonna get to that point at some point. And I'm hoping that when Spider-Man says, when I get to that point, I hope someone will come to me and tell me before it's too late. Because I'm telling you, it's time to give up. And Matt Murdock goes, you're right, and pulls off his mask because Spider-Man's like, I'm not looking to know who you are. I don't, whatever. Matt Murdock pulls off his mask and gives it to Spider-Man and walks off to sit down and drink a scotch. And Spider-Man slowly walks off with his mask. So he's given up being Daredevil, supposedly.
Do you think all this is real, or is there some hint that someone's pulling something wool over his eyes? Like, is it really Spider-Man? Is it really the other people?
Well, I guess there's a possibility of that. I kind of think it's, he's just this is the new version of him having to try and find himself, would be it's kind of my sense of it. It is possible. If it is, they're giving us no hint that's the case. At least that I've taken on. So I think he's gonna try to figure out how just to be. He's really sad at the end of it. I actually really enjoyed this issue because of that whole kind of conversation about, do you reach a point where you're just not as good as you used to be, and you're kind of making more of a mess of things than you are, making it right. His other friends are like, just quit doing this for a while, get your head screwed on straight, then get back in the game. And Spider-Man's like, you're clearly, you're on national television, fisticuffs with the cops, you're beyond,
right,
the pale. I don't know. Like I said, I really enjoyed it. The art in it is really good. Chichetto art, I really enjoy it quite a bit. Let's see. Like, I like his version of Owl. He looks like he looks like a person who could actually look like this, as opposed to truly having hair that you're like, there's no way that's possible. Right. There's some great, like, here's some of the fight scenes. There he is wearing the Punisher shirt. I don't know. I just thought it was fun. It was
That
just,
art makes me want to jump on this.
yeah, it's the art. The art is really cool, and it really is. He kind of fights with this kind of like guy who has an Iron Man, a second-rate Iron Man suit. So he actually uses him as kind of a as like a shield against other guys and stuff for a while. But no, it's like I said, each issue I'm enjoying it more and more. I am, you know, I'm a sucker for Daredevil. I mean, I don't even mind the fact that some of it is treading the same ground, but this feels different. He's not beat as a person, and he has to try and, I mean, like the Man Without Hope, for instance, where he has to figure out how to fight back against Fisk. He's broken himself. And now he has to. It's not. You know, so now it's more of an internal kind of thing, and I'm interested in that. I mean, you know, if Zdarsky's going to, you know, tell this interesting, you know, potentially interesting story of him, you know, how does he fix his own head?
I wonder if they'll play with him not dressing up as Daredevil for many issues, or whether they will have to hurry back up into the Daredevil.
Yeah, I don't know. The next cover has him looking like he's just walking around as Matt Murdock, you know, kind of a thing. I know that CBR, Comic Book Resource, ran some story about the fact that they're, you know, Daredevil's gone now and somebody else is gonna have to be Daredevil and a bunch of stuff. And Chip scolded them on Twitter that they had no idea what the hell they were talking about. Basically telling them they were fake news or whatever, that was not the case, that was not what was going to happen. I mean, clearly there's a story to be told, but it wasn't, you know, let's find, you know, some guy on the street to be Daredevil instead. That was not the intent of what the story is going to be. So, so I'm interested to see what that, you know, that exploration is going to be. So, yeah.
Cool. Well, that will be one maybe to look for in trades. Or
yeah, for sure. Or when it shows up on your,
right, on the Marvel Unlimited.
On the Marvel Unlimited kind of thing, for sure. Yeah. Any other Marvel books?
Yes. Well, I think that you got Spider-Man Life Story.
Yes. Yes.
And this is really starting to grow on me.
Is it?
It's, to me, it's now feeling like a, I don't know what to call it, but a real serious alternate world take on the Marvel universe in general, with what happens with Captain America and Mr. Fantastic and various other people, along with Spider-Man, and the twists and turns. It's very tricky to just do a decade per issue, but I feel like within that limitation, he's making some interesting twists and turns with the Marvel universe. At first, I didn't get it, or I was just annoyed. It felt like just random changes.
Right.
But now I feel like he's onto something. The writer Chip Zdarsky, who we were just talking about.
Yep.
I feel like potentially we'll have to see when all 6 issues come out. But with this issue, I started to feel like, yeah, he's doing some interesting things with the Marvel universe and things having real consequence. And of course, the character's aging. So, I don't know.
Right.
Well, you're not as happy with the book.
No, I'm not, because it's, so you talk about those things like the Captain America thing. Well, so what? We get like 2 pages of Captain America and that's it. We're not going to see, I mean, to me, there's not enough there to.
It's just little hints and flashes.
Yeah. And see, whereas like the Hulk clearly is hinting, is hinting back to its history. That's what this is doing too. The Hulk I find interesting. This I don't, maybe because I know this, so it's not, I mean, and I have to admit, this decade is the heavy decade of me reading Spider-Man. You know, I started reading Spider-Man in about 76 off and on. By the time we got to the end of the 70s and in through, you know, 85, 86, when Secret Wars was going on and all that Spider-Man was a comic book I read all the time. I mean, yeah, this stuff's, I don't know. To me, it feels like a less jazzy What If. I mean, it's a What If book, but it doesn't, I don't feel like there's a payoff for the Reed character, for instance. I don't know. It's like, I was happy to not see Osborn anywhere in this, not to see any reflection of the Green Goblin. That's either resolved itself or whatever. I don't know. I've reached a point. I don't know what the.
I
Like,
like
to
DC
me,
too also. I
yeah,
didn't really talk about it on any of my videos, but yeah, I don't know. I just kind of, it is its own thing. It's not going for the big
right.
revelation. It's more like an accreting all these small differences and
So,
small.
so is it just in reality I'm not enough of a Spider-Man fan to like just this little kind of.
No, no, because I'm not that. I kind of only like Spider-Man from the 60s and early 70s, to tell the
Yeah,
truth, in general.
yeah.
But I think I got my mind wherever his mind is, where
Hmm.
Zdarsky's mind is. I'm not a big fan of the art at all.
Yeah, I
But
know. I don't like Bagley's art. I'm not a that's one of my other problems too. Maybe I would be more charmed or smitten with the whole book in general if it was art that I cared for.
right, but
Yeah, I don't.
at this point, everything is a little different, right? The whole Black Suit saga
Sure.
works out differently. The Clone saga works out in a different way.
Right.
Just all these things, and I'm kind of enjoying now that I've let go of what I thought it should be. I'm
See,
enjoying,
and maybe that's my problem. I still had this
and
cool.
maybe
We're
that
gonna. We're
approaches
gonna.
the 80s, your favorite period of Spider-Man. You were really looking forward to some
Well,
idea
yeah. I don't know that it's my favorite period. It's just the period that I literally month to
that
month.
you knew the best.
I mean, I was reading. Yeah, I was reading all the Spider-Man books at the time, basically. So, um, yeah, I don't. Yeah. I mean,
You
it's
know,
just.
in
I
the end,
guess
it's
it's, for
not
me, it's just not.
it's
It's
not
not
a
enough.
major. It's never going to be a major book or something.
Right.
It's just this odd little side project. But I guess I'm just really growing to like it.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I. I mean, I'm going to get the rest of them. I'm going to read the rest of them.
Because it's a mini series and it'll be over soon.
Well, right, and I am curious to see, where does he end? Do you know what I mean? How does it end? I mean, he's got twins. He's got all this stuff. I mean, clearly, the end of this issue, he's moving into midlife crisis Spider-Man, who is going to be down in the dumps, right? Because his wife's left him. He's stuck with his seemingly demented Aunt May, and
she can't live much longer.
I wouldn't think so.
These comics, they don't. One thing that surprised me is what part of the 60s and the 70s and the 80s they've covered. Because I think it was, I can't remember what part of the 60s it was, but then it was 77 and then it's 84.
Yeah.
So, if we skip ahead 10 years, Aunt May will be dead, one presumes.
Well, unless he's, Parker Industries has come up with some way to keep her alive or something, right?
Yeah, or some Hulk plan has brought her back to life as a big green monster.
There you go. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I'll read it, but and a big problem for me is the art. Like I said, I'm not a big Bagley fan, but I was curious enough about the idea of what I thought the book was going to be that's why, I got on it. And with my pre-ordering, I'm 4 issues in before I can drop it, so might as well get the other 2 issues and whatnot. I'm enjoying it more than Super Sons.
And how long did you stick with that?
I think I'm getting all the issues.
Okay.
At some point, I will force myself, when I have free time, I will force myself to read the rest of those that I've kind of skimmed through, but can't make myself read anymore. So,
yeah, by issue 6 or 7, I found it was just too. I couldn't read it.
Yeah, that's to me, that's getting off subject, but that just amazes me that book would go south that bad when the original Super Sons was a lot of fun.
By the same writer.
Right?
That's really mind-blowing.
But then we're gonna get into their DC books, and I haven't read that book yet. You've informed me that I don't need to. We'll talk a little bit about it and in general, because of course it's been a couple issues. This whole Arkham Knight storyline. I'm very puzzled. Well, do we have any more Marvel books to talk about?
I have one more, but I'm not going to talk about it very long. The Doctor Strange series, where Doctor Strange and Galactus are getting involved in a storyline, is getting to be just. It seemed like it had such potential, but it's just seeming to be kind of blah to me. it has a lot of that, even though it's a comic book, and so everything, you are seeing stuff, but it feels a lot more like telling rather than showing the story. It's not acted out enough, it's narrated, which is ironic because it's really mostly written by Barry Kitson with an assist, I think, by Mark Waid. Barry Kitson is the penciler. And so, yeah, I'm just, for people who are trade waiting, I'm less likely to recommend this at this point. But
okay.
I'm going to keep getting it till the end of the story. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's the end of my Marvels. Did you have
no, that's it too. I didn't have, that was all my Marvel was, well, I got Marvel for
that you haven't read
this week's, but I haven't read yet. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't, Marvel news. I mean, there's the continuous talk about what Marvel issue 1000 or whatever the heck it is, 88 years of Marvel. That, if you've seen people talking about that, where
I know that it exists, and then some people were complaining there weren't enough women or other minorities writing for it.
Right. So, and it's like 1%. I mean, if as far as that part of the subject, it's like 1 or 2% of the book is non-white male.
Oh, okay.
For whatever that was worth. It's like a $10 book.
Right. I mean,
and this is the book they're bragging about. They think they're going to sell 1 million copies of.
Okay.
There's like 88. I don't know. I'm making up a number, but there's like 88 variant covers for the thing. And one of the funny things is one of the covers that's been supposedly put out there as supposedly one of the covers is a montage. So it's like a decoupage of a whole bunch of images, right, throughout the years. And it's done by somebody who's a multimedia artist. They're not a comic book person. But one of the images is actually a Nicola Scott drawing of Alan Scott and his fiance from Earth 2. I
remember them. Yes.
Them kissing. It's them kissing. I don't know if the person thought it was supposed to be Hulkling and whatever, but so there's quite that's a pretty funny. I mean, I'm assuming it'll get fixed before it actually makes it to print, but it was pretty interesting to see Nicholas Scott go, wait a second. So
if they have bragged that it's going to sell 1 million copies, they must have some ace up their sleeve, like, one of those boxes that it's going to be shipped out to all these people.
So I guess it's all of our assumption that, I mean, because Baruch has been, or not Baruch, what's the guy's name?
Right. CB Cebulski.
Yes. He has been bragging that a book's coming out that's going to sell 1 million issues, that they're going to sell another 1 million issues. And I guess the assumption is that we figured this is the book because this is the big whatever thing, because it's, like I said, it's 88 years of Marvel or something like that. Nothing I'm going to get. I have zero desire to get the thing. So, but I thought that was kind of curious.
And the number 1000 is fake because they haven't been doing the Marvel comics for very many years.
Right. I don't know what would make them think that there would be an appeal to that. Oh, it's number 1000.
It's the typical Marvel cynicalness in there.
Right.
It doesn't seem like it could sell even. They'd be lucky if it sells 200,000 copies or something like that. I think.
Right. Well, because I don't think there's enough of us old guys left to buy it.
Right. And who want to spend $9.99.
Right.
And Marvel is known for doing various tricks, like sending extra copies out just to say.
Well, like I said, they may produce and shove down the direct market somewhere 1 million copies, but 1 million copies actually sold to reading customers as opposed to the comic book company, comic book store customers. Yeah. I'd be nervous as a retailer for that book. But anyway, that's me picking on the Marvel part of it and whatnot. The Marvel books I am reading, I am enjoying. So, I mean, I'm not.
Well, one thing that struck me as a DC fan is that Patrick Gleason has moved over to Marvel and signed an exclusive with them.
Yes.
And that kind of upset me a bit.
Yeah, it did. It shocks me. I mean, first it was the separation of Tomasi and Gleason because they just felt like right hand and left hand
Right.
of
They
of
did
a
the best work together.
of a DC machine, and now, yeah, now he's. I mean, I get it. As a creative, maybe you'd want to go and explore this whole other, you know,
Right. And maybe bouncing
world.
back between companies is a way to keep raising your rates.
Sure.
If DC wants him back 3 years from now, they're going to have to offer him a lot of money or something.
Right. But I have to admit, as much as I really like him, I wasn't reading the work he was doing with Bendis, and unless he's on a book I'm already interested in on Marvel, I'm not like going to pick up, I don't know, the Avengers because he's drawing it.
Right.
As much as I really like him as an artist and stuff, it's not.
You know, if he were writing and drawing something at Marvel, that would tempt me. Because I really liked that. I think it was just 6 issues where he wrote and drew that story just about Robin, Damian Robin. And it turned out to be really good, I thought. And made me sort of crave more of his own writing.
Yeah, you're right. And I would too. If you
to do that on.
Yeah, I mean, if he was doing something all of his own, where it was like he was making his own choices, yeah, you're right. I probably would. I would be more interested in that, I guess. Yeah. But like teaming him up with Jeff Lemire to do, I don't know, a Nova comic or something, I'm not interested.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't be either, unless. Well, I might. I shouldn't say never because I might be. Yeah. But I was kind of bummed to see him go.
Yeah.
And that's one of the few times I've heard recently about someone. A lot of people have moved from Marvel to DC, but not many from DC to Marvel that are at least a public thing.
Right. Yeah, true. The last one that seems memorable was when Charles Soule signed exclusive after doing a bunch of DC work.
Well, that's another cliche in my mind, that these people I'll love at DC will go to Marvel and become less exciting.
Yes.
But there's something about the Marvel editorial process that wears them down or reduces what their magic.
Right.
Not that Charles Soule was bad at Marvel, but he was much more exciting at DC, I thought.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I never stuck with anything that he did in Marvel. I would try stuff and then.
Yeah, me too.
A few issues in, jump off kind of thing. So
I didn't read his whole Daredevil run even.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's move on to DC books.
Yeah.
Because we kind of hinted at those. I don't have a ton. Well, I guess I have a few. I take it back. I always have DC books. So for me, DC books for last week, of course, issue 71 of Batman. We start to get serious into the whole home invasion stuff. The Batman has survived the Nightmare arc, and in this issue, he puts the red bulb in the bat signal, which is a warning to all the Bat family that they all need to come rushing because something really, 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 really bad has happened, kind of thing. So Barbara, Batgirl, gathers up as many of the Bat family she can. Of course, Red Hood won't show up. Nightwing, who's now Rick, is not interested either. But a bunch of the rest of them show up to help Batman. Batman's like, Bane is controlling the entire city. Once again, he insists that they need to go in and kick Bane's ass. He's already in trouble. Batman is, because he's already beaten Bane up once before. And Gordon wants nothing to do with him. Gordon hates him right now, thinks he's an out of control lunatic. But he shows up at the mental ward again and proceeds to attempt to beat up Bane. We don't actually see him beat Bane up this time. We see the aftermath, which is him standing on a roof, insisting that Bane really is this mastermind that's got everybody fooled. And the entire rest of the Bat family going, we really want to believe you, Bruce, but you're sounding really crazy right now. Even Alfred is saying you're crazy. Meanwhile, we're also getting this scene of Batman in Wayne Manor. Thomas Wayne is there dressed as Batman. Bane is there, and Alfred is serving Bane food. Like Bane is in control of the house and in control of everything, and basically making a mockery of Bruce and Batman just keeps telling him he's going to break him. But
Thomas Wayne alive, or is this a dream?
Thomas Wayne's alive.
Oh,
Because for the whole button, that whole stupid button thing, he comes through to dimensionally and whatnot.
through to our dimension. I assumed he stayed in his, that it was just a visit.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, either he's here or this is part of Batman's large hallucination, which I don't know because they don't. We don't know what's going on because Batman keeps seeing Bane as this physical, capable person of controlling everything. Penguin swears on his dead lover's grave that Bane is alive and controlling everything. But from any normal person, Bane is this in a vegetated state in Arkham because Batman has beat him so bad that he is non-functioning. So I don't know. I'm liking it. I'm enjoying Batman.
Right.
Largely as a whole, there's moments that I kind of go, what? But I'm largely enjoying the whole Batman thing. And I'm curious to see what happens with this whole him fighting Bane. I'm assuming this is going to be a story that goes on for a while. I mean, I personally, it feels to me like Bane really is doing this. This is his new way of breaking the bat. Again, because it's, and it's part of Tom King's run. I mean, because early on the run, of course, he basically pulls one over on Bane, goes to Bane's own little island and kind of escapes and rubs it in Bane's face that he's better than Bane is. So of course, these two guys being the egomaniacs that they are, Bane's coming back to Gotham to try and prove that he's better than Batman. So,
right. Huh. Well, and you've got, what about 14 more issues to find out what happens?
Yes, the big news is that issue 85, the end of December, Tom King is off of Batman. And he is going to be doing a new book, Batman and Catwoman.
Oh,
right. Which
exactly.
To me feels like would have been part of the Batman storyline. I mean, I think that was part of the 100 issues. It's always kind of felt to me like, we got to issue 50, the whole wrecking of the wedding falling apart. And he has said all along that what he does by the end of his run is going to be a significant permanent change to Batman. Well, actually being married would be a significant change to Batman.
It would be nice if that was it.
I still think that's what was going to happen, but I don't know. Now it's kind of a who knows? I mean, it frustrates me.
50
if that was for me, if the what's going to come in the Batman Catwoman story was supposed to be in Batman, I wanted it in Batman. I wanted this nice big long run. Love it or hate it by the time the whole thing's done. And trust me, early on there was very few people who did not bitch about that Batman comic book more than I did. I mean, I would come on because it was twice a week. I'd come on twice, every other week and talk about how this was the worst Batman book I'd ever read in my life. But I'm enjoying it now. It's built. The whole thing's built over time. That first arc still doesn't make sense to me, but largely I enjoy it and think it all makes sense and stuff. So that it frustrates me. It frustrates me if this is like some sort of an editorial creative. I mean, I get that come December, I'm suspicious that they want to get all the books kind of back on the same track because I think that
there may be a reboot coming. Some people.
I think that what is it? The Doomsday Clock. I think it is technically going to end around December. So this gives them the ability to kind of fresh do whatever the new thing's going to be. And of course, you want your flagship titles all moving in the same direction. And largely, Tom King's Batman has kind of been its own thing, doing its own stuff that's kind of not would be considered mainstream. So
yeah. I mean, I've stopped reading Batman, but I found it absurd when people were like rejoicing DC's kicked fired Tom King. If he's fired, he wouldn't have 14 more issues to go.
Right.
He wouldn't have miniseries coming up.
Well,
it's just, he got caught in the wheels of the editorial world and the publishing world.
Right.
And looking back on it, it's amazing that he went around saying what his plans were for 100 issues.
Right. Well, and the fact that he got to 85.
I know. How many people have had an 85 issue run on Batman? Not Scott Snyder, not many people at all.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's some huge failure and repudiation of King, even though I'm not a big fan.
Well, and then the sales are fine. It's not like the
Yeah.
sales have plummeted.
Yeah.
It's still a top-selling book. So there's some sort of editorial. It has to be. It has to be some sort of editorial something. There decisions to do that, kind of a thing. So
it's odd. It was a kind of, I don't know whether they were encouraging him to go talk about the 100-issue run after people got upset after issue 50. Because it's probably just professionally foolish to talk about runs that long when you're working in comics, when you don't know how, I remember when Gail Simone got fired or kicked off of Batgirl with an email in one issue, she was gone.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah. Other than contractually.
Right.
Tom King had a contract. He's got a different contract than Gail Simone had. So he may have a higher level of thinking, I'm going to do this because of whatever the language he has in a contract.
Maybe. I can't imagine they probably give him a lot of money and an exclusive and promise him certain things, but I think they can take those things.
Oh, they could.
They're not going to give up their editorial, and
there may be
they now are changing the plan.
Yeah. I'm looking at the comments and
comment there.
And Luke is here. Luke is saying that Batman hits Drake, which he does, which was freaking awesome. I plan on blowing that up and having it on T-shirts. It'll probably be my banner back here too. Tim Drake getting sucker punched by Batman. But it's out of character. He's still a kid, right? Is he? Is Red Robin a kid? Well,
that's very unclear to me. Red Robin's status in the
he's a young adult.
DC.
He's a young adult would be what I would call him. So he's in that, I don't know, 17 to 21 range. I don't know. Is it out of character? Right now, most things are out of character for Batman, right? I mean, that's part of why they're having the conversation with him, is that this is out of character. You are out of control, not making sense. He's out of character. So for me, it's not out of character for the book, because Batman is kind of potentially that far off the deep end. So if he's that far off the deep end, him having this snotty, I'm a better detective than everybody in the world, idiot, getting in his face, he kind of deserves to be slapped more than once. So, but yes, it was shocking. It was supposed to be shocking. All joking aside, but I don't think it's out of character for where Batman is at right now.
For what Tom King is wanting to do with.
Right. Within the story, I don't feel it's out of character because Batman's out of character. He's losing control, clearly. I mean, that's part of this whole thing. We've gone through the 5 issues of Nightmare stuff, and he's losing it. He's losing it because things are not going as planned.
The Bat sucker punch. That's that comes from Gotham Central there.
Yeah.
Line.
Yeah.
So did he sucker punch Alfred in a recent issue?
No, but he did punch Gordon.
Okay.
Gordon gets in his face and he decks him. I'm gonna see if I can find it. I mean, they do a good job. The art in it, they do an excellent job of this whole, after they're supposedly done dealing with Bane, the separation between him and the rest of the family. Mm-hmm. This 2-page spread just to help emphasize the insulation, how much, Batman is out on his own limb. I mean, he called in the whole family and now he's saying, I don't need any of you, after he's called them all in. And they're all like, look, we're just trying, they're all helpful people. We've all gathered, they're all charging in and whatnot. But yeah, he gtes the hell beat out of him. He gets sucker punch. He didn't get sucker punch, but he gets punched out by Bane. He gets one-shotted. Bane punches him once and actually knocks him into unconsciousness at one point. We assume? Yeah, right there. Right there is where he punches.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that shattered glass look there. Maybe part of the shattering of...
Right. Well, he's screaming. You don't know a damn thing. And, of course, the rest of the family's looking all shocked back here. And then on the other side, this is where he's had the dinner and has been punched out by Bane. And that's Thomas back there. And Alfred's saying, oh, Master Bruce, can you not see? He's broken you.
Wow.
And that's the end of the issue. So
Terrence has nice looking pages, and that's my biggest regret of dropping off of the Tom King Batman is all the great artists he worked.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
Jan, right? And he's
this is now Janin and George Fornes. George Fornes does some of the other stuff. His stuff is kind of like this page is his. It's closer to like Lee Edwards.
Lee Weeks.
Lee Weeks, I mean. It's like Lee Weeks, but it's weaker Lee Weeks. It's sloppier. It's not as clean as what Weeks is.
Weeks.
Yeah. And then of course this page, this is a Janin page here,
right?
Where he throws the red light, the red bulb in the bat light for a few seconds.
I mean, Janin has grown into an amazing artist over the years that I've seen him at DC.
Yeah. Yeah. And with like Jordi Belair coloring his work now. Yeah, it's really good stuff. It's really good stuff. So, like I said, I'm enjoying the book. I mean, like I said, I completely understand why people. Yeah, here's the whole dinner scene. I completely understand why people at the wedding, got pissed off for any number of reasons at 50 and bailed off the book. I think there's been some really, really good stories since the wedding that I've really enjoyed.
I think, ultimately my response is this is a frustrating book to read month to month.
Sure.
And so, or I guess it's twice a month. So I just felt by issue 50, I just felt frustrated.
Right. Well, and
I wouldn't read it someday.
Yeah.
So I am hoping he can tell his full story in whatever meal way now that he can.
Right. I don't think Tom King has anything to worry about for his comic book writing career.
Yeah.
I don't think this is, I think DC went about it in a kind of really sloppy sort of way. The way it kind of got rolled out and whatnot and no response to it kind of a thing made it.
Yeah, they should have, they should have said, oh, we love Tom King and our publishing plans have changed and to do lots of other great projects with him.
Right.
Instead, it was up to Mitch Gerards to say that kind of thing.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I guess I don't remember that, but Luke is saying that Batman 41 Alfred gets punched.
Oh, okay. But that was a different situation where Ivy was taking over everyone's brains.
Right.
Yeah, I did read that one.
Yeah. Right. So you got any DC books?
Yeah. Actually, all of mine, though, are from this week. Do you have any more?
Okay, I do have one more. I have one more. So Aquaman issue number 43. This is more of the Kelly Sue DeConnick story.
I like that title blurb on the cover, Into the Jaws of the Mother Shark.
Yes. And the artist is Bogdanovic.
Oh, right.
And
He's a good artist.
I really like his art. His art is really, really cool. And so this issue we're done with the first arc. This is the beginning of a new arc where, okay, he kind of knows that maybe he was this guy called Aquaman. These people are going to help him recover those memories. So basically it's like they give him some equivalent to ocean peyote, and he's going on a trip, it seems to be. And he meets Mother Shark. Mother Shark is this entity that lives way in the bottom of the ocean and gathers up the memories of the dead. Oh yeah, by the way, Aquaman, you're dead. You just haven't traveled all the way, into my maw and gone to whatever is next, kind of thing. We're kind of waiting for you to do that. And the other reason you haven't is because while I've been down here, gathering the dead and whatnot, I heard these pleas from these ancient god people that they needed a new champion. So I sent you there for a while. It's kind of a test to see, could you be a hero, or would you be a hero even if you didn't have all of your memories of built up that made you the hero that you were? Lo and behold, yes, you can. So here we are. And the Mother Shark is offering him up some memories and goes, here, you've got some memories, enough that you can function and know kind of who you were. And I can send you now back to the land of the living with the few memories you have, or you can stay here at great risk, possibly to your own mental health, and gather more of your memories. So when you go back, you have even more, but it could drive you crazy or all other stuff. Well, by the end of the issue, he chooses, I want to stay and learn more. And of course, he's really interested in that redhead lady that he saw in one of the memories, Mira. And Mother's like, oh, great. Well, here's some of those memories. Yes, she was a really important person to you, and she's also the person that killed you. So now we're gonna find out how it was that Mira killed him. I would assume in the next issues. But I really liked it. It was good. I really liked the art in it quite a bit. Yeah, here's the scene of, where he should have went into the mother shark's mouth, and she directed him off to do this last arc we just read. But no, I kind of enjoyed it. So now I'm assuming the story is going to be us learning, us learning how it was that he died, why he was killed, and that sort of thing. So now I was thinking I was going to be done after the first arc. I was going to check out the beginning of this one. I'm going to hang around for a while to see what it's like. It's not like I've disliked it. Right. It's just I clearly buy a lot of comic books, and so I don't need to read everything. But I am curious to see, why did Mira kill Aquaman, and what's that going to be like, and how does he come back from that? And
I didn't really expect Kelly Sue DeConnick to stay on for more than one arc.
Right.
Especially because she doesn't seem very focused on comic book writing right now on her other projects.
Well, I
thought she was getting sucked into Hollywood or something.
See, that's what I thought too. I thought her and Matt Fraction, I thought was kind of like, well, we've kind of, they've generally kind of moved on. They hint at doing comics occasionally, but because they have deals with like one or two studios.
Right. I feel like they have their own production company or something.
Right. To develop stuff. So I wasn't sure either. So it was a surprise to see, pictures of Kelly Sue at one of their top writer meetings, and then suddenly hearing that she's on Aquaman, and then suddenly Fraction's going to be on the Jimmy Olsen, series and whatnot. All was kind of surprising to me to suddenly have them not just back in comics and not just back in corporate comics, and suddenly at the DC corporate comics, on top of all of that. So
yeah.
It hasn't been bad. Like I said, if you're an Aquaman traditionalist, I totally get why it's not your cup of tea. But it's been fine. And I am really curious to see how we're going to tell this part of the story and whatnot. So, and the art has been good. Yeah. And that's it for my DC books from last week.
Okay. And I'll just, since you haven't read it yet, Batman Detective Comics.
It's at the bottom of my pile.
I told you don't read it. It's a little extreme reaction, but I definitely feel like maybe Tomasi is on a mental vacation, or not a true mental, but you know what I mean? He's not hitting on all cylinders lately. And this issue made me think, okay, this arc is going to have similar problems. But I won't go into it.
Well, I mean, so for me, just the last issue, we get revealed who the Arkham Knight is. And I'm like, really?
That might have been okay, but what gets revealed in this issue about her origin story fell really flat for me, and it just had a lot of problems. Yeah, and the way it was told also had a lot of problems.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, and it's not that they're. I mean, this should be a good team. It should be a good creative team telling us something really interesting. But the story before issue 1000 of Detective Comics
was a real belly flop,
right? And this is, to me, more of the same. I am so puzzled. I mean, because I can go back and look at some of my favorite comics in the last 15 years have been Tomasi written comics. I mean, truly, some of my favorite comic books have been done by him, and it's not like it's just him with Gleason. Some of it has nothing to do with Gleason, and I really, really enjoyed the hell out of. And I am just puzzled. What happened? I guess we all have. I mean, everybody has a bad, has a few bad issues, but
I almost, just in backseat driving or whatever, wonder, was he really upset maybe when they, suddenly brought in Bendis and let Bendis take over his comics, and so maybe he's just feeling burnt out of, the musical game of musical chairs at the corporate. But I mean, he's done it for a long time, and he came out of editorial himself. And
Right. I mean, so he knows the game. I mean, he knows
Right. He
how it all
knows
works.
these ups and downs, I
But
would think.
but still, I mean, I guess that's a possibility. Just kind of, but you would think if he was sour grapes, that they would not leave him on
A detective.
detective for very long.
Yeah.
Um,
And I wonder if detective was kind of his consolation prize. But he's not making good use of it, if that's the case.
no, no. And personally, I would have hoped that if that was the case, you'd write the hell out of Detective Comics to prove that it was a mistake to have taken you away from what you
That's
wanted
true.
to do.
You would think so.
I mean, that would be my attitude about it.
Right.
But
I mean, I had hopes that this would become my favorite Batman comic. But at this point,
well,
no.
I was super excited. I'm sure you can go back and find videos of me going, "Oh, this is gonna be awesome! Tomasi's gonna be on Detective.
Yes, I remember
It's gonna be
this.
this bright new era of Detective Comics after being kind of, kind of ruck shot for a lot of years. And it was gonna be all awesome and whatnot, and it has not been.
Yeah.
Issue
well.
1,000, issue 1,000 Detective Comics had some good stories in it, and otherwise it's been, yeah. I'm on the verge of dropping it, and I don't drop Detective Comics. It's one of those last few comics that I hang on to just because. But yeah, at any rate, on to happier things, maybe.
Justice League Dark.
Yes, Justice League Dark.
I really enjoyed this issue. I do have to say the plot thread that we've had pretty much going this entire 11 issues plus some extras in the witching hour has become so long and complicated. I'm not sure how we got from point A to B to C to D where we are now, but I'm still loving the ride.
Right.
And this issue had a lot of great stuff. And it, like many of the issues, felt like, okay, this is really the end now.
Right.
And the incredible arch. I don't even know where to begin with this really, but I guess one of the major parts of it is this meeting with Mordru, who I didn't realize is like such a major player, representative of the magic of chaos.
I think they amped that character up quite a bit from what he was.
But he became very convincing as a major player in this issue.
Right.
Very well done.
Right, because he slaps Wonder Woman around, literally.
Right. Then he wraps her up in snakes.
Right.
And he removes Zatanna's mouth.
Yeah.
In a very horrific way.
Yeah.
So, and then there's these incredible scenes of like people disappearing because the magic has been removed in their worlds, their universes they come from are magic.
Right. Right. Yeah. I agree with you. This is a long, the plot thread that's driving this whole thing is very long. I mean, it's the people from the other space that are going to consume all of magic. That's the really bad thing. In the process of fighting that, now the Lords of Order,
in some way, they're supporting the other kind in the destruction of magic, or they're doing it themselves.
They're doing it themselves. They're basically going to eliminate all magic because people shouldn't have had all this magic and whatnot. All it's done is created more bad stuff. Even it's created disorder. The way magic is out there and the way it's used has created this massive amount of disorder. So the Lords of Order are going to take it all away, destroy it all. Because that'll save the Earth. That'll save Earth because there's no magic. Everything will be nice and simple because, that's how the world works,
Right.
Everything's nice and organized. But they get rid of magic. The other kind won't come because there's nothing for them to eat. And,
the other kind won't come. Okay.
Right. And we won't have this messy, sloppy magic crap going on anymore. And that'll just make the Lords of Order all satisfied,
which sounds reasonable on one level, but they seem very villainous and enjoying it. They're really enjoying fucking
right, because they're basically they're killing tons of people, real people, not just figments of illusions, but actual people that have actual existence. They're eliminating all those people. In this issue, they give people, or last issue, they basically give people a ultimatum. You can walk. We'll take all of your magic away from you. We'll take all of your memories of anything that has anything to do with magic whatsoever, and you can still live. Or, in 5 minutes, we're going to kill y'all. you know, I mean, so, yeah, I mean, they are the bad guys, which in a sense, they are another form of the bad guys. They're saving the world in a very extreme way, kind of thing. I still really like the comic. I mean, I find all of it interesting and exciting. I've always liked the Lords of Order in theory, you know, what they represent, and Dr. Fate being part of that is really wild, having Dr. Fate basically be a bad guy through this whole thing. I mean, he is sinister as hell. I mean, he's conniving. He, you know, at the beginning of this, him kind of acting like he's everybody's friend and whatnot, all really conniving and whatnot.
To toy with people and make them suffer more.
Right. I mean, he's sadistic. Yeah. It's a really interesting take on a character that I've always loved. I don't like this character, but I mean, it's fun reading him in this and whatever. And of course, the answer by the end of this issue is clearly if the Lords of Order are tipping the scales too far one way, how do you fix that? By throwing up a bunch of chaos. So by the end of it, we've got potentially new Lords of Chaos.
Right. Who are Wonder Woman and Zatanna transformed.
Right. Because they grabbed the overpowered Ruby. And
now Wonder Woman uses curse words.
Yes. Because clearly that's chaotic.
Right.
And Zatanna looks like somebody slapped a Starro on her face. That I don't know.
True, yeah.
I have to say I am not excited by this.
The character designs.
No, they're pretty silly looking. I think.
Yeah.
But I still like the idea of it. I've liked this story all along. I love the secondary characters that are in this. Bobo continues to be interesting and entertaining. I'm liking Kirk Landstrom in this way more than I thought I was going to. Him kind of being the scientist, but embracing magic in what it is and whatnot. I find him a really fun character. I'm liking the team up of Zatanna and Wonder Woman kind of being the people who are out really kind of directing things in a sense or whatever. So I just a fun comic. I mean, but I have to admit, at some point you think this storyline would have to end. I mean, we're 2 arcs in or whatever, you know, we're 2 trades worth into the book at some point. You think this nemesis would have to end, right. but I don't know, you know, what's after it. If this nemesis ends, then what do you tell kind of a story? So
yeah, well, this does feel like peak James Tynion. I mean, he's slowly become a good writer, and now he's, at least for this type of story, he's great. And his ability to make us like all these characters or hate some of them in short little snippets, because there's so many characters, is very impressive.
Now, I will say this: I'm not a big Jeff Johns fan. I didn't read a lot of comics of his in his heyday when he was like, you know, the best of the best. DC. Right. I mean, I've gone back and read a bunch of the you know, Titan stuff, which I did enjoy or whatever. But Jeff Johns did a good job of like reinvigorating characters or taking characters and grabbing like the best of what that character represented back in the day and redoing it. Tynion feels the same way to me in that sense, in that he's taking these characters that have, you know, history in DC, where their characters a lot of us love for one reason or another, and he's kind of fleshed them out further and reintroduced them and kind of reinvigorated them and make them enjoyable. So I mean, that's that's a good quality to have in corporate comics, to be able to either come up with something completely new or, you know, give us a reason to like all these other menagerie of characters again. So good stuff.
Yeah, and like I was discussing with someone on YouTube in comments, there's a certain sort of Clive Barker quality to all of this too, and to get that meshed in with the superhero stuff effectively is very impressive. So yeah, Tynion's really good on this comic.
Right. Okay. I'm assuming the other one is
Freedom Fighters? The other one that I really loved. Yeah, of my DC reading. Freedom Fighters #6. So we're about halfway through the story. Point. And well, as it says on the cover, the Overman is back, unleashed, and they do mention the multiversity issue with Overman,
Mhm.
which I now have only vague memories of. All I can remember is Hitler on the toilet.
Right. Same here. Same here.
I don't know if that ended with the Overman flying off in space, as they show that he did here.
Yeah, I don't know.
So anyway, they continue to do lots of great twists, really big action and excitement, and really evil bad guys, and really, but in a way that you enjoy. You don't go, oh, this is too cheesy with all the bad guys and good guys.
Right.
You mentioned in your video that you did, what was it, earlier today or yesterday, how they keep calling them Ratsies. And it suddenly occurred to me, maybe they, in this universe, are they Ratsies, or is that just their derogatory nickname, and are they still Nazis?
Well, okay, so that would be fine, other than this thing always opens up and goes, "Welcome to Earth X, where Nazi Germany, metahuman, war machine conquer the planet." So if they're going to call them Nazis in the little fine print there,
right?
And I mean, and I get that. I mean, I get that in the 40s, right? They had lots of nicknames for,
right, and one of them might have been Ratsies.
Yeah,
but I don't think it was that common.
Right. So in here, it's just
it's what they call them all the time.
All the time. You know, I mean, if one or two people had them, that was their nickname, that'd be fine. So that's the part that confuses me. They literally say they're Nazis, and then they don't call them that in the book. I mean, it's not the end of the world or anything, but I mean, it's like, it's clearly what it is. Why not just call it what it is?
Right.
I mean, I would hope it's not to not offend somebody or something, because clearly they're painted as the bad guys, and they're going to kick the hell out of them. So cool. But
yeah. So they do use the word Nazi somewhere then in a caption.
Do they?
I can't find it. But I thought that's what you just said.
No. It's in the title page. Every issue of the title page where it tells us what the title is.
They do use Nazi there.
Right. They say, "Welcome to Earth X, where the Nazi Germany meta war machine conquered the planets," and it says Chapter 6, Overman Returns. But that's at the beginning of every single issue.
That's the only time they're called Nazis.
Right. Right.
But they do call them Adolf Hitler and everything.
Yes.
So here's
the Fuhrer, and yeah.
When you said that, I had this weird aside, a sudden memory of noticing, you know, they're doing these True Believers things, or now it's called Marvel's Greatest Creators. This is the Invaders. And on the inside, they show the original cover. So this is a slightly modified cover. But one of the things that's modified from the 1970s version is they removed the swastikas from the airplanes that the invaders are fighting on the cover.
Do they do that because of, like, you couldn't sell that in Germany with that on the cover potentially, or something like that? I mean, because I know there are places.
Maybe that's it.
I mean, I know there are places that's.
I was just wondering if there's a feeling that people don't like the mentioning of the word Nazis anymore, or in this case, the swastika. And I don't know. I just thought it was odd that all the swastikas had been removed.
Yeah. Because I mean, this is because
inside the comic there.
I mean, because in both of these comics, it's not even, if you want to dance around, oh no, punchy Nazis, you know, the thing that's going on now, which to me, go forth and punch. But we're talking about literally the stuff from World War II. I mean, in this, it's an extended version of that World War II. But that comic, The Invaders, that's what that comic was all about, was World War II and fighting the Nazis. I mean, so it's not, you shouldn't have to, I don't know. To me, it seems like you shouldn't have to dance around that. That is what it was, or what it is. So,
yeah, I guess maybe I just got oversensitive to that and started wondering, you know, are they saying Nazis because people are more comfortable than when you say Nazis?
Right.
And that whole process is upsetting to me. I just read a big article about a rising anti-Semitism in Germany. And I also, well, it's been for a while now, I've been realizing that Holocaust deniers are becoming more common.
Yeah.
And all of that is just really creepy to me.
Yeah.
But that's probably not what's going on with freedom fighters.
Right. No. And I continue to love the art, because it's one of those, because it's got lots of big, giant, smash them up, you know, wreck things kind of stuff. Eddie Burroughs always does an excellent job of kind of the superhero kind of feel anyway.
Yeah, his pictures have a nice weightiness. He brings that, I don't know, sense of gravity or something to these scenes.
Right. And so it's all great for that standpoint. The book isn't super heavy on plot. I mean, it's fairly
right. It's an action book.
Yeah, it's really simple in that it's they're trying to resurrect, Uncle Sam, which they've accomplished now halfway through the series, and now they're going to attempt to take back America. So it's not
right. And now their big problem is how do you deal with Overman? How do you deal with Superman being a Nazi?
Right.
Because no one else can defeat him.
Right. And clearly the Nazis are a bit concerned about the guy too. They talk quite a bit about the beginning. We got to make sure that we've got control, don't throw away the key so we can lock him back up afterwards. Cause this is a weapon that, and we find out
there was a little piece of jewelry that might be made from kryptonite that Hitler Jr. has.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah. And, we find out that this isn't the original Overman either, that it's basically Cyborg. it's Cyborg Superman, basically.
Superman,
yeah. But
I assume that kryptonite still works on him, but maybe not.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a real fun ride.
Right. Right. And I'm looking forward to the next issue because now their next goal is to snatch up one of the SS, the plastic men. Yeah, the
I love that idea of the evil plastic man.
Yes, they're really sinister because of course they can look like anything and then they get all stretched out and ugly and wreck people and whatnot. Right. So yeah, some pretty cool stuff.
That's all my DC.
That's all the DC that I got read too. At some point I'll read Martian Manhunter and then force myself to read Detective Comics, I'm sure. So DC news, of course, we talked about one of the big things.
With Tom King, that
Tom King
major thing this week,
right? And you showed on Twitter your frustration over the fact that all of our books now have like 14 ads for the frickin' Leviathan thing in it. So every other page
is the same ad with a slightly different text.
Well, right, because the picture of each of the there's a different picture of each of the detective people who are going to be part of that whole Leviathan thing, right? I mean, I didn't look at it very closely either, but
yeah, and it's I don't know, it's a weird effect seeing it over and over. Really make me not want to read it. I mean, I really sick of seeing that ad.
I ordered it because I'm really curious about it. I mean, I think I will like the art. It's got Kate Spencer in it, Manhunter. It's got Green Arrow. It's got a bunch of people in it that I'm interested in. So I'm gonna check it out, despite my apprehensions, my Bendis apprehensions and whatnot.
Well, I haven't ordered it, so it'll all depend on if I flip through a copy and decide.
But I'm not gonna pick up like the 80-page Superman thing or whatever. I'm just gonna figure it out from that miniseries. From that miniseries and not the other stuff that's going on and whatnot. So
well, then the sort of tied into the Tom King, the idea that maybe DC is planning some rebootish kind of thing has me a little apprehensive.
I would not use the word reboot.
Some kind of realignment to go.
Yeah. I mean, well, it's been 2016 was Rebirth.
Right. How long did New 52 last? 4 years, 5 years?
And 2020 would be 4 years. I mean, they had little lines in between, but I mean, so for me, I would just hope that if they're going to have some other kind of, they're going to banner everything again, that doesn't literally mean that I think they figured out, don't truly restart the universe again like they did with the New 52. But if they want to realign stuff, I guess I just don't see why they have to make a production out of it, other than every time they do it,
they need to juice sales. Yeah,
right. If they start over with number ones and that sort of stuff, of course it does generate a certain amount of extra excitement and that sort of thing,
and their new owners are probably asking, well, what are you going to do to juice, I imagine when you get a new owner, they start saying, well, part of their job is to look for ways to make even more money on what they've just bought.
What can we make money off of, and what can we cut costs on?
Right.
Yeah.
And
any speculation as to who you think might be writing Batman? With Tom King getting off of it?
My first thought, but I I assume I'm wrong, is Bendis.
But so Bendis would write that and be writing Superman?
I don't know. Or would this realignment?
So he's told the Superman stories he wants to tell and would be getting off that to do Batman instead?
I don't really have a good answer as to who writes it. So Bendis was one thought. You know, a good one would be, well, no, maybe not. I don't know who would make sense to them.
Right. So that's what I'm thinking too. It's like, okay, so does it somebody that needs to follow certain marching orders or certain editorial path? That means you maybe aren't getting somebody that's the same kind of creative that would be if you wanted to get somebody who was going to take Batman someplace different. I mean, if at some point they've gotten uncomfortable with Tom King taking Batman off the beaten path a little bit, now they would want somebody to more be aligned with, you know, Batman being a standard, you know, going forward kind of a thing. So, because I can think of all kinds of potentially interesting or odd people to put on the book just to try and do something different with it.
Right.
I mean, I would love to see Mark Russell on the book just to see what he might do with Batman, you know, because he kind of plays on the edges of things anyway. So what would somebody who plays on the edges, what would he do with something that's as straightforward as Batman?
But could he handle being in the main DC universe, really? Or would it hamper him too? Would he just
sure, but that's right. That's going to be the problem with anybody who takes over that. You know, do they want somebody who's going to play nice with the rest of the universe and just kind of go along with whatever? Or they want somebody, like I said, who's going to go off and do their own.
Someone who could people who could do a very good job of, you know, being creative, but staying within the bounds aren't as big names in a way. Like I think of Tom Taylor or Dan Abnett, people like that do a good job without shaking up things too much.
Right.
So either of those guys would make a good writer on Batman if we had to be more corporate, so to speak. But I don't know that they would think of those people.
Yeah.
Would they want to bring back Scott Snyder? Supposedly he's just about to do his final Batman story.
Sure. His final the biggest story he's ever conceived of or done.
The thing he's always wanted to write about Batman ever since he was born.
like every one of them. Which I mean, I appreciate the hype, man. But I haven't bought it for a long time. But that would be interesting to have him come back to Batman.
Yeah. But he hasn't ever completely left.
Yes, but I mean in a regular sense though.
Right.
Because they're kind of letting him play in his own sandbox of Batman now, as opposed to being a Batman proper. So yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting. I'm curious to see what it is. Part of me feels sorry for whoever takes over Batman after Tom King.
That's true. Yeah.
But
well, you're taking over from Grant Morrison, Scott Snyder, and Tom King.
Yes.
That's the lineage of recent years.
Yeah.
That's tough.
For sure. Yeah,
I assume they're not going to bring back Grant Morrison.
Well,
he's probably just selling okay on Green Lantern, so they probably.
Yeah, I don't know.
In terms of,
I think if he wanted to go back to Batman, I think they'd let him. If he had something to say, I think they'd let him. Do people say no to Grant Morrison?
Probably not.
Yeah, I think he still has enough weight to.
I'm assuming that he also is mostly doing Hollywood's writing scripts and stuff in Hollywood, and that's why we don't see a lot of his work.
Right. Yeah.
Silent Stag Devin says that he likes it when there's new number ones as a more new reader.
Sure.
So, I mean, even though it seems very repetitive to us, every 3 or 4 year or 4 or 5 years going back to number ones probably makes a lot of economic sense.
Well, it does. It does. I mean, how many people either got into DC or got back into DC because the New 52 hit?
Right.
You know, I mean, it's so if
and
it gets
even someone like me with the New 52, eventually I was reading less and less and less of it. And then with Rebirth, I suddenly was reading a lot of DC again.
Right. Because they introduce all this stuff. And you're like, oh, I want to kind of try all that. That all sounds interesting. I want to try it all. And I don't think they care if it is a long-term hit. Right. I don't think they're looking at, you know, what's this, you know, how do we sustain this comic for 15, 20 years? It's, how can we, this fiscal quarter, how can we get X amount out of it? I really think is, how corporate comics operate. So
Terrence asked an interesting question about whether is this Leviathan the same one that was in Morrison, or is this a different Leviathan?
That I do not know. I mean, yes, there was a Leviathan during the Morrison run for the Batman and Robin and the and then folded into Batman Incorporated. But I have no idea this is the same one or this is something different. I mean, because if it's the same one, we all know who that is.
Right.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I assume it's not, but I have no way to know because I haven't
right.
It's all from the Superman comics by Bendis.
Yeah. So Silent Stag is asking, you guys open to questions? Sure.
The question you just asked is the hardest question to answer.
Yeah. I don't want to put you on the spot. What is your favorite comic you're reading right now?
Ice Cream Man for me.
Same here. That's Ice Cream Man is very quickly at the top of the first of my tongue when I go to name books. There are other books I'm enjoying quite a bit also, but Ice Cream Man is way up there, way up there.
And Ice Cream Man feels very fresh and different, so that helps too. Like I really like Paper Girls, but at this point it feels very familiar in a way.
Right.
So the plot's so convoluted and everything.
Right. Excited now. I'm excited to see how it ends. What is
ending, even though I've enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah.
I want it to go forever.
Yeah. Well, at least we're getting an ending with it. Whereas Saga, we may never see it ever again. And I don't know.
Like Tom King, they're promising us another 50 issues. So.
Right. But
yes,
anyway,
you do need to get Ice Cream Man.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, there are very few comic book readers that I know that I would not recommend Ice Cream Man to. You have to be a pretty straight and narrow kind of a before
only a superhero person, you might know.
Right. Well, yeah, for sure. But
really hate horror because it is a strong horror book.
Yeah, if you can't get into the Twilight Zone or Night Gallery or that sort of a type of a vibe, it may be, then it's not for you. But but otherwise it's good stuff.
Yeah,
definitely good stuff. All righty. Speaking of Ice Cream Man and
e-books,
yes, Ice Cream Man and all that kind of stuff. Let's talk some indie books. What do you want to talk? We have a few books that I know both of us read.
Quite a lot that I could talk about. Do we want to?
Let's talk this. Let's talk Little Bird.
I was just speaking of really good indie books.
Yes.
Not quite up there with Ice Cream Man for me, but I really
no. I mean, I really enjoyed the art in this book. Ice Cream Man story-wise, though, is just in another place.
Yeah, this is, well, I maybe went too far on Twitter, but I said I thought this was up there as some of the best science fiction comic book art I've ever seen. Not saying that it's better than Mobius, and I know it's influenced by him, but still it's also its own thing, and it really presents a great science fiction vision that kind of just blows my mind.
Yeah.
Page after page, and so many pages. This must have been like a 34-page story.
Right. So it's kind of designed like a European book, right? So it's more pages and there's going to be less issues, right? Kind of a thing.
Right. And so it turned out they originally made us think there was going to be no reprinting of it. But what they meant is there was going to be no cheap trade paperback reprinting of it. They are planning on an expensive hardback. But this will remain the cheapest way to get it.
Right.
And given that there's so many pages per issue, it's a much, much better economic bargain than your average comic book anyway.
Right. That on top of the fact you're getting a phenomenal book as far as visually.
State-of-the-art comic book art.
Yeah.
The story is a bit more of it's good, but it's kind of a standard evil empire, ragged bunch of rebels against the evil empire kind of story.
Right.
Kind of some interesting narrative tricks, but still basically that story at the end of the day.
Right. I mean, and you got a little more complication to it in the, who is Little Bird related to? I mean, whose father? How are these? I mean, it seems like some of these big players are all related to each other in some sense. The Disembodied Voice has a hard time reading this book, just because of the heavy the heavy religious overtones and the kind of the oppressive end of that. And currently kind of America kind of feels like it's going through some of that with some of the laws that are currently being passed places and whatnot. It has a very, for her, it has a very Handmaid's Tale-esqueness to it too.
Handmaid's Tale, although I feel like it's very heavy-handed and.
Oh yeah, it is. It's that whole, to me, it doesn't feel that way so much because it's very ham-fisted. It's very, the Canadians are the good guys in this, Terrence.
Right.
Yeah.
Canadians are the good guys, and the bad guys are the American version of the Catholic Church, which I feel like that's a very Canadian point of view, because most Americans don't view the Catholic Church as the particular most dangerous religious group at the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, they have had their day in the past.
Right.
But yeah. So that I found kind of funny, but it doesn't bother me or anything.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's just like I said, it's visually, it's so gorgeous. The little lines, the little hash marks, the little, Ian Bertram just has his own style. Yes, you can hunt down other great artists' style within that.
Right.
Because if you, to me, if he's not aping Moebius, I don't think. But clearly he's
quite a bit of Moebius's approaches to things and uses them when he needs to.
Right. Which is, like I said, to me that makes sense. I don't think is a negative, in any way or whatnot. Any of this really surprised me. I was shocked by she's running to get away and that, her getting shunked, again at the end of it. That was,
there's a whole thing of,
and then Daddy's got you. That was like, oh wow.
She died at the beginning of the book too.
Right.
So
well, clearly
death and rebirth going on.
Yeah, clearly she's I think like her mother in the fact that she can come back, obviously. So it's not a true death for her, but.
And the person killing her is perhaps claiming to be her father.
Right. And there's a couple pages in the very back of the book that are just some black and white art, just to remind you, even without Hollingsworth's wonderful color on it, that some great art.
I think that's this is state-of-the-art line art and state-of-the-art color art combined.
Yes.
Not getting a colorist on a good, we're getting a really, really top-notch colorist.
Yeah, and some of this stuff is very much him. Bertram is very much into this kind of tendril stuff. I mean, it's on all the covers. It's in a lot of his art.
Full of in that that whatchamacallit, about the rifles.
Yeah, House of Penance. House of Penance has the blood creeping around in it too, and it's the same sort of that kind of visceral tendril stuff and whatnot.
And you bought some of the original art, right? Which I think was a smart move. Now I bet it's going to cost a lot more.
Possibly, I haven't looked, but yes, I am obviously a really big fan. I own 2 pages of House of Penance. I've had opportunity to buy some of this. I haven't even looked.
Oh, okay.
and I should.
On or just online? You've seen it for sale.
Online. He has an art dealer, and because I'm a prior purchaser, I get
look or something.
First looks at some of the stuff, kind of a thing.
Yeah. I mean, this book is getting a lot of notice, so I assume it's raising his profile amongst art.
Well, I would guess so. When you have Pat Oswalt on Twitter going, "Oh my God, you should all be reading this." Every time an issue comes out, he's on freaking out. And Pat Oswalt, he transcends comics. It's not like he's somebody who likes comics, but he's also an actor and comedian, blah blah blah. So I mean, when you get somebody who isn't just another comic person squawking about something being great, I mean, that clearly that increases the the profile too, for sure. Um,
And I think Terrence just pointed out the lettering in this is good too, and that's true. I didn't even think about it, which is kind of a sign of good lettering, but it's an incredibly high quality comic.
Yeah, it's worth the $3.99 like every other comic price tag.
Compare that to Marvel and DC, and the quality of the paper is amazing. I mean, it's
right.
On every level, they would rather make less money and do a good comic book.
Sure. Well, I think that they're gonna make money though.
Oh yeah, I think so.
I mean, because people are buying it, people are going back and buying it, and clearly, when that fancy thing comes out, people will buy.
I'm gonna double dip for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure I will too. I like having the single issues and whatnot, but I also like having that bookshelf with those books on it that I can go pull it out and go, ooh, look at this, kind of a thing. So, yeah,
very true.
100%.
Well,
go ahead.
One that you probably read is Lucifer.
Yes, the kind of
contender for one of the top comics out there.
For sure. So this is Lucifer on the next thing. We kind of wondered, we last issue we were left with kind of the, is he going on a great adventure? What's next? Because we had the whole mad poet, breaking out of the skull of what's her name and moving on. What's going to be next for this story, and this is the beginning of that. And I really enjoyed it.
Earl more about Lucifer perhaps wanting to take over the Egyptian underworld, either borrow it or actually take it over.
Well, he wants to. It seems to be that he wants to find a place to put what's her name. He's got a
right. The witch.
Yes.
What? I feel bad that I suddenly can't remember her name.
Same here.
It's hard to say. Sycorax.
Yeah, Sycorax. Who
clearly was the skull for the first 6 issues and now has been refleshed, so to speak.
Right, and she's the mother of all witches.
Right.
It's kind of what she represents, and clearly a soft spot in Lucifer's.
Right. They have Caliban together, right?
Right.
So, a lover, and so he wants to give her a better afterlife than which is run by angels.
Right. And she's being hunted by the actual heavenly hosts. Now that she's refleshed, they're coming to get her. And so there's like this, she's been given 36 hours or something ridiculous like that to take care of her stuff, because then they were going to come and get her, was the threat that was leveled on her. And so I think Lucifer is trying to hurry up and find a place to put her. So he goes to the underworld, the Egyptian underworld, pulls his heart out, weighs his heart, and then shows up and tries to play nice. But the Egyptian underworld, because nobody worships them anymore, they're pretty they're kind of a pretty sad affairs, because we're kind of operating under the whole Sandman universe, obviously, where if people believe in you, you have more power than if you don't. So they're kind of in a sad state. They kind of imply they're contemplating eating Lucifer, right?
Yeah.
Like they're cannibals. Like they're like, we need to survive, so let's eat him for sustenance.
Right. It's even though it seemed like maybe the story was simplifying after the first arc, it actually is now feeling complicated again.
Right.
And I really like the bringing in of all the witches who are in the kind of the spiritual descendants of Sycorax, and they all want a piece of her time, and she wants to spend her last hours with her son, Caliban. Right. I quite understood why Caliban then shows up in the Egyptian underworld also.
Well, he's looking for answers, I think, and I think that cherub kind of sends him on his way to find his father, I think. So a new artist on part of the book also. Aaron Campbell now did the main bulk in the middle of this issue. The witches part is still done by the by the twins. So the beginning and the end of it's book ended by them. but the whole and the part where they're talking to the heavenly host, but when they get to the Egyptian part, that's all Campbell.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. And Campbell, of course, was doing a lot of BPRD there towards the end and whatnot. So it's not like the occult and that sort of thing is out of his you know, kind of the realm of work that he does in and whatnot. But because it's all colored by Dave McCraig, it is somewhat seamless, the move between the two, between the you know, between the different artists in it.
Right, and the Fiamoras have kind of a fluid style where they use different styles in different pages anyway. So I just thought they shifted their style.
Yeah,
Huh.
yeah. But I'm intrigued. I mean, what is Lucifer up to? This kind of mad dash now to try and find a place, and of course, what's her name?
Mazikeen.
Mazikeen is, you know, kind of doing her own thing, trying to kind of, you know, continue to look out for maybe Lucifer's best interests and what all's going on. You know, she's attempting to do her own thing because the you know, the Queen of Witches and whatnot isn't really listening to her, and then she gets smacked by you know, some people at the end that could lead to other complications, it looks like. So
Right.
So I think it continues to, like you said, it like this is going to be a, you know, turn out to be a simpler story. There's a lot going on. It's going to be
it's still going to be complicated.
Right. And I'm still really enjoying it. It's another really favorite book. So,
and it's definitely one you just can't quite predict it, which makes it more fun. Right. You know, for us really experienced readers anyway, I think.
Yeah. So, yeah. Definitely another book that I don't know if I'd recommend to everybody, but I definitely really dig it. It's really got its own kind of a thing going on. And
yeah, you have to both like horror and kind of a more difficult read, I think.
Right.
That's a smaller. But if you're someone who got through a lot of Sandman books, and if you like the original Lucifer Mike Carey run, I think this is a no-brainer.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. Are you reading this? Are you reading Fair Lady?
I have bought issue 1, but I haven't read it yet.
Okay. So
and you liked issue 1, right?
Yes.
I remember you.
Yes. And I really like issue number 2.
Oh,
so, you know, contains a complete mystery. So it's very serial. It's TV like in that each issue, you know, it's basically this fantasy detective who is presented with some sort of a task. She's hired to do something, to protect somebody, to find somebody, to find some object or whatever. And within the issue, she goes and does that. And it gets resolved in some sense. Maybe there is no answer, but in some sense it ends. But we learn more about characters and situations for each issue, which I think is building a larger picture for us as we're going along. So I really like those aspects. So it's a one and done story. If you just picked up issue 2, you would not be anymore. You wouldn't be confused. It's not like, wait, what's that? There's no dangling plot threads that would make you not understand what's going on in the book. In this one, a woman has hired her because her husband has disappeared. He is a fair man. And he is, was doing some work and disappeared. The government is saying that he was killed by dragons. She doesn't believe it. You know, she wants the fair lady to go out there and check it out. When she goes out and she's kind of uses her reasoning skills to figure out that the fire where the guy was supposedly burnt out by a dragon. First off, dragons, you just don't see very many anymore. Not since the war. She figures out that the burn marks are man-made burn marks. And then there's some other stuff going on. The guy isn't really disappeared or whatever and whatnot, but I don't want to get into the story because, like I said, it doesn't go on. It's finished in the one issue, so I don't want to spoil anything. But no, I really like it. I really like the characters. Like I said, are really interesting. She's an interesting character. You know, it gives us hints about the war that happened before that. They live in this town, and the town it's called the Feld, and the town is inside and around a giant robot that is like rotted away and whatnot. My camera probably doesn't pick that up very well. But the people live inside this, so stuff happens in and around it. You always get this map, and it kind of shows you where stuff was at. So it's fantasy. It's magic, but it's also very Magnum PI like in that, she's the war veteran who's there to figure out the thing, and she's got a few friends that help her along the way to figure out these things. I mean, she even lives in a tower where she is the security of this magic tower, and the person who's hired her is away. But there is another person who helps take care of the grounds also, and the two of them kind of have a back and forth complaining at each other sort of a thing. So it's very, like I said, it's very Magnum PI like in that it's Magnum arguing with Higgins. If anybody remembers that show, they live at the beach house that's actually owned by some writer. So it has a lot of similarities to that. And like I said, as a kid, I was a fan of that show. I'd never watch it now, but as a kid, I was a real fan of that show. So it has those kinds of elements as far as how the thing operates and whatnot. But like I said, I get a real kick out of the fact it's a single story. I know I'm going to get something. There's going to be some sort of resolution at the end of it. But yeah, I'm enjoying it.
It almost seems like there's a mini trend in Image Comics to try to give you a better single issue experience lately.
Well,
Little Bird and this. And,
yeah. Well, I think to some degree, aren't a lot of us going, man, comics are way too decompressed. It takes 6 issues for us to get anything resolved if we're lucky to get it in that. So
yeah, it seems like it's they're maybe realizing if we want people to still buy single issues, which helps support the whole way our business works, that we need to do something more.
Right.
The reverse of Marvel thinking how
right.
can we use more by giving less. But.
Yeah. So like I said, I'm it's a fun comic. It's not like deep reading with her, but I enjoyed the heck out of it. And like I said, it's really easy to sit down. I read that one issue. I'm not, not that I have much problem remembering what's going on in multiple storylines, obviously, because as much as I read, but it is simple as far as that goes. It's not, I'm not picking up the next issue going, oh man, what happened to the last issue, kind of thing. So, yeah.
But you think you'll keep picking it up for?
Yeah. It's definitely enjoyable. For sure. What else you got?
I picked up a brand new Dark Horse comic and it's a horror comic called
The
Red Line.
Yeah, cool. I'm glad somebody else picked it up. I thought maybe I'd be the person to be talking about it.
I didn't even know of its existence, but I was wandering around. I was doing what I call my double dipping, going to another comic book shop a few days after I've been to my first. And I just saw it sitting there, and I've lived in Boston, so the Red Line immediately, I remember riding on the Red Line.
Nice.
And then and it looked pretty good when I flipped through it. I have to say, reading it, I thought there was lots of cool stuff in it, and I thought it was a bit confusing too.
Yes, thank you. Because that's where I was. I'm like, oh, I really like this art. I like the art all the way through it, and there's moments I think are really cool, and then there's other stuff I'm like, what the hell happened? Did I miss something? That I'm not.
It feels like there's connective tissue missing,
or or because I'm not, or I don't know Boston. Is 4/15/13? Is that when the bomb went off for the Boston Marathon? Is that what this opening page is?
That, I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, that's probably what that is. Yeah.
So that's what that is, because it shows people running, people celebrating, and then there's this kind of crazy violent page at the bottom. I don't know. I haven't bothered to look yet. I should just Google that.
In the 80s. I don't
right.
The dates of when things like the Boston Marathon bombing happened.
Right. And then we get, like I said, we get some other elements, and then the whole this homeless guy. What's his name? Yusef,
he seems to jump through monsters.
Yeah, he like jumps through their mouth and kind of travels to some other place,
sure
and then
is the monster. I assume he's not the monster. He's kind of stopping them.
I mean, like I said, that's gorgeous. The color of it's all crazy, and it's really cool looking. And then he ends up in the, out in the park afterwards.
And I guess we later find out he's in a group therapy group.
Yeah.
like Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm not sure. I don't think it's quite that. And he also has saved the daughter of this police.
Right. I guess she went out.
Brings you home for dinner. It's a very quirky, odd scene.
Because so I guess
changes her clothes with the door open or something.
Yeah, that was a really weird, right? I'm like, okay, that's kind of that whole scene where it rains, so he's wet, so he's changing his clothes, and she goes into a room, she doesn't close the door, and then you get,
it's extremely unusual to invite a homeless person into your house to have dinner in an urban setting, I have to say.
Right. I mean, she is a cop.
She's a cop, yeah, but she's really letting him into his house and.
Well, and so it's like she
opportunities to do things, either rape.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like this whole energy here is just kind of like really strange. I mean, because I mean, he walks in, she's clearly surprised, but at the same time, not like. I mean, she shuts the door, but it's a weird energy. And then they're sitting around having dinner, and we get the story of her daughter who is deaf or mute.
Oh, I didn't pick up on that.
One of the two. Well, they're using sign language.
Oh, okay.
Because that's why she's signing, and we get the translation down below as she's moving her fingers, right? And she tells this story of how she was eating lunch and then got out in the park, and the geese come to get her because she's got crumbs all over her, and the guy chases the geese away. And so he's the hero, right? Well, and then this policeman, she has a husband, we find out.
Right.
And he shows up and he's like, oh, hey, shakes hands. And this basically says, get the fuck out of my house.
Yeah.
After these dirty, that's just so weird.
It was weird.
And then she
a very odd relationship with the police officer and her husband.
Right. And then she kind of chases after him afterwards saying, oh, sorry how that was, and he's like, oh,
sure.
Yeah, it's like, hey, this is the highlight of my day. I'm like, ooh, this is all kind of weird.
He says it was the highlight of my day, but he has kind of a freaked out look on his face too.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what part of the day was the highlight of his day? I mean, she's an attractive looking lady. So, I mean, is that the highlight of the day, or getting kicked out of the... Yeah.
And we don't do transitions in this comic. So the next page is we see someone barfing blood.
Right. And a guy acting like a vampire.
And we eventually realize Yusef is part of this circle of chairs in kind of a group therapy kind of thing.
But they're all weird though. I mean, like
therapy for homeless people, group therapy for
where? But the guy acts like a vampire.
I know.
Yeah, so they're a little unhinged. I mean,
yeah. So it seems, and is this guy puking blood, dying? I mean,
yeah, I don't know.
Late stage of alcoholism, and they just lead him off and continue the therapy.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's just all. It's yeah. There's definitely some weird moments, and there's more monster ones. I said, I like
most of that quirkiness and want to find out more.
Yeah. I like all the elements.
Mm-hmm.
But like you, I was confused because there's moments where it just moves to something else, and you're like, I don't know. So hopefully the next issue fills some of those spots in for us.
And there's an odd scene like in a church where he's kind of doing confession with the statue of an angel.
Right.
But then there's all this other stuff about taking pills, and I don't know. I need to get back to my Mediterranean dreamscape. It's not a party, it's a formula. It got so many weird touches. I hope they all connect together.
Yeah, that is the Boston bombing, by the way.
Okay.
I just looked it up because it was bugging me now that I said that to not look and see. So.
Yeah, Devin says it's unique that you don't see a deaf character in a comic like that.
Right. So
the comic had a lot of odd touches, like this lettering on the first page and stuff, that when that lettering came up for the person's sign language, I just missed that's what it was. And thought,
yeah. And I don't think the stuff at the beginning is certainly that. I mean, this is I don't know who that narrator at the beginning. I'm not sure which is scarier, when you see the monsters or when you don't, because then obviously there's the explosion, right, from the bombing. So I don't know if
with the terrorist, you don't see monsters.
Right. If that was one of the things, and then there's some other, yeah.
even the signs that people are holding in that Boston Marathon crowd are quirky. Kiss me, my boyfriend is in Ohio.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. So this is what, like 4 issues?
Is it? Okay, so I didn't really know anything about it till I ran across it.
Yeah, it's 4 or 5 issues, I believe.
Yeah, I think I'm now hooked. I need to find out what's going on, and it's interesting and intriguing enough to continue.
Yeah, I'm looking here to see if this tells me. Oh, it doesn't say. It just says number 1. So maybe, I don't know. I guess I don't know how many issues it really is, but
Dark Horse does a lot of books, little horror books like this that usually are 4 or 5 issues. So.
Right. I mean, even if it's going to go on, they'll do it in yeah. Oh, it says 1 of 4 on the inside front cover. It says 1 of 4. I thought I saw someplace that it said that. So I am happy that I decided to get it. I just wasn't sure when I was ordering comics, like, oh, what the hell? I'll get it. Because, you know, I don't get very many comics. So
for people willing to get a lot of comics, I think it's one worth getting.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. What else?
Well, I got All Time Comics.
Oh, okay.
0 of their new series called Zerosis Deathscape. And I don't even, it reads very much like an odd alternative comic.
Mm.
There isn't even, there is a superhero who just has no superpowers and gets a fat guy who just gets beaten up.
The guy that wears the bucket on his head?
Yeah.
Isn't that like a Marvel, character?
Is it? He has t-shirts that, what does it say, that say make 'em pay. I don't know.
Because I thought that he was like on the cover of one of the like Marvel Time or Marvel Age books or whatever.
I think I've started to forget what happened in this one, which isn't a good sign. But what I wanted, the interesting thing, this was issue 0. I guess the next few issues are going to be drawn by Trevor Von Eden, which is unusual. I know they did have Al Milgrom doing some inking in some of their earlier issues.
I see. Terrence is saying for Bushman, yeah.
Yeah, the joke character and not Brand Eck back in the 60s.
Yes.
Yeah, so maybe this is a play on Forbushman.
That's what it was.
Yeah, so anyway, I guess the only thing to say about this is if you like a really odd, quirky comic, check out these All Time Comics, which are in some bizarre way a tribute to the Bronze Age of comics. But the weirder and more pseudo-amateurish they act, the more they like it. You know, so.
I see. I
don't know how Trevor Von Eden is going to work in the mix with that. And I haven't seen Trevor Von Eden's work in a long time.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting. So I picked up the latest issue of American Carnage. This is issue number 7. I really
very big needle.
Yes.
I'm just noticing the cover.
Yes. So I'm really enjoying this book. It is definitely a kind of crime type story. Of course, it has elements of current racist American climate in it. This ex-FBI agent who is mixed race but can pass for white has been sent in off the record by another FBI agent into this whole mess to see if he can dig up enough dirt on this guy who's going to be a senator. He's got mixed up with the guy's daughter, who is either a mess herself or is really diabolical and sinister. We're not exactly sure. She knows who he really is and is now using that against him. So he's kind of over a rock and a hard place, between a rock and a hard place. But really interesting. I'm enjoying it. If you like kind of seeing people's lives be a complete train wreck, it's definitely that sort of a book. But yeah, I'm enjoying it quite a bit.
Cool. And does that have an endpoint that they've
not that I'm aware of?
Okay.
Not that I'm aware of. And it doesn't feel like we're anywhere close to, because he's doing, he ends up getting wrapped up into all this crazy stuff. In this issue, he's out to save a guy who's part of the Aryan Nation for the daughter, even though he does not want to, because he's trying to do enough favors so he can get into the inner circle with the senator to be, to try to bring him down for the murder of this FBI agent at the very beginning of the book. So it's very, shoot, I can't remember the TV show now. Can't remember, but it's your kind of in some ways your standard. I've gone so far undercover that now I'm doing the really bad stuff that the bad guys are doing to try and keep my cover and, and
or something.
Right. And get further into what she wants to do. So, yeah.
Sounds intense.
Yeah. What else?
Completely opposite. Sabrina #2, written by Kelly Thompson. Kelly Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
Solidifies. I haven't read a lot of Kelly Thompson, but solidifies my feeling that she's the queen of fun comics.
Right.
It's really fun, and although it has kind of simple art, there's some interesting stuff going on there too. And it just it gives us more fun with Sabrina and her aunts, along with weird stuff going on at school. And this character, this boy who might be a monster. Anyway, it was just fun. And so if for people who are all tempted to pick up this Sabrina book, which I assume will be a short run too, I think it will make a great read and trade. Or it's only issue 2 if you can find the issues.
Is that like Veronica Fish doing the art?
Veronica Fish and Andy Fish.
So Andy Fish,
their labor is
right. Andy Fish does the breakdowns, and Veronica does the finishes.
Okay, and one of them is doing the colors because there's no colorist.
Okay. Yeah, they did Blackwood too, not Kelly Thompson, but the Fish. The Fishes did, which I really enjoyed the art on that also.
Yeah, it's a kind of perfect combination of fun art and fun story.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And paced really nicely and all of that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Gideon Falls? Are you reading Gideon Falls?
I switched to trade, so I have read the first 6 issues.
Okay, so
a lot's happened since then.
Yes. How do I want to talk about this? Is issue 13? They've lost me on the whole horror comic with this issue.
Oh, really?
This issue, we've moved. I don't want to say a whole lot because if you're on issue 6, we've moved so far now for me. Oh, I mean, here's this whole clockwork stuff. Well, you got the sense of the first 6 issues that obviously like Norton and the father are potentially in like 2 different places, right? I mean, not
yes.
They're both in Gideon Falls, but not the same Gideon Falls. Okay, there is a lot of Gideon Falls.
So now we've got many Gideon Falls.
Yes, and we see enough of them in this issue that now it's kind of, it doesn't. I mean, there's the smiling man character is still clearly a horrific character, but that whole other element that happened with that massive exposure to the different places, which was kind of hinted at, but not now. It's vulgarly there.
Right.
Has moved this for me. That's no longer. It's not a ooh the creepy barn and ooh what's going on anymore. It's become this other.
Phase 1 is over, and now you're in a different phase or something.
It's become this other thing. So, yeah, I don't know. I'd love to talk more. If you ever get up to
hurting your enjoyment, or is it just is it hard to shift gears? I see gears on there, but
right.
Or is it a smooth transition for you?
I mean, it's not a jarring transition, but it feels like it's the elements that the comic had before, it does not have now, and I'm not sure what the elements are going to be. You know, is it suddenly going to become this reality jumping chase? What happened to the old characters? Because who we're now traveling with is not the person that the people we started this book out with. And I don't know. This may throw me off the book for two reasons. One, because it's not what it was, which is fine if it's going to move on to something different. Except for I've experienced Lemire indie books before,
thinking that, yes,
where it's like he's suddenly decided either he wants to drop the book or he's tired of doing this and he wants to go somewhere else with it. This is picked up as a TV show, and I can see where this would make interesting TV, but they're going to have to make the first 12 issues of this way shorter of a TV show, because if they waited like a season and then suddenly went to this, most of your audience is going to go, what the F just happened? And this is not the show I've been watching. And why do I want to watch this? Because that's kind of how this issue felt for me. I'm reading it and it's like, well, this isn't the book I've been reading up to this point. It's now, for me, really different. So I don't know. It's, yeah. And I will say this, Andre Sorrentino really likes the fisheye lens shot. He uses it again here.
Oh yeah.
You know, and that's what it is. It's because this is all kind of warped around this sphere a little bit. So he's used that element in quite a few different places. I really do like the art. The panel work is really intriguing and stuff. Yeah, it has a lot more Paper Girl elements in this issue, I guess. So it just kind of, you would not think Paper Girls have anything to do with this, but it has some of those elements, and that kind of throws me off. So I don't know. I'm going to stay with the book, but it really is kind of, this issue really pulled me out of the book and got me just thinking.
And Lemire does have that record of every few books, he just sort of goes off in some weird direction or doesn't complete what he started or something.
Right. And so I just don't know. I mean, you know, we're off another, I don't,
And you got to also wonder, when something gets optioned for a TV show, were they just going to do 12 issues and suddenly they decided, okay, let's add some other layer to the plot to make this longer so it can be a longer TV show.
Right. But they could have kept telling the kind of creepy, two-sided story for a lot longer, I think, than where we've gone with this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're following a completely different person right now. You know, that's got nothing to do with those first 10, 11 issues. So, I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
anyway,
it's surprising. A bit weird.
Yeah. What else?
Well, from this week, did you get to Invisible Kingdom?
Yes, I did. I sure did.
So I'm starting to have an uneasy feeling about this, that I don't know. My expectations were too high or something. And I expected a richer world and a richer story. Mm-hmm. The characters are interesting, and the situation's, a somewhat interesting story about financial collusion.
About Amazon taking over the world and
financial collusion between a religious institute and some giant mega corporation. But the stakes aren't that clear, really, and they don't seem that high, except for individuals being caught up in it, I guess.
Right. And I don't know that we've gotten enough of them to be truly invested in them, right?
For some reason, I feel a little more investment in the nun character, maybe because she's such a true believer, and then to have her faith, so to speak, in her order shattered so quickly.
Right.
Is a potentially powerful kind of situation.
Right. Well, hers feels sinister on a completely different level. What's going on with her and the stuff that's with her, because she's pretty much given up her entire life to
Yes.
be devoted to this thing, and then to get there and find out what you thought was this thing is now potentially, in cahoots with, in doing wrong and doing harm. Whereas, the other guy's kind of a free trader, standard corporate wage slave kind of a person, which, I mean, I can relate with that in a sense, but I don't have an investment in them and their group. I think I could, but there just hasn't been enough of them to really make me, there feels to be more emotion behind the nun character. Now they're on the run, which cool, but it seems incredibly hopeless. They're being on the run. Cause they've already built this.
Right.
Vega Corporation is really kind of owning everything.
Everything. And
I mean, I don't know if this story is a tale of woe against Amazon or that sort of thing. It kind of has that kind of a feel to it, because this big giant corporation is about shipping stuff to everybody, whatever your needs are, and they satisfy all of those needs, and they've got their own police force, their own everything. You just do not want to, cross them at all in any way. But
there's no sense that if they revealed this accounting crime to the rest of the galaxy or whatever, that there'd be some hue and cry and it would destroy me in this religion. It seems like no one would care.
Right. Exactly. So I don't, I mean, so that's kind of too, there's just this, I mean, I suffer from I thought I was super hyped for this to be like mind blowing. I do enjoy it, but it's, I like the art. But
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's more about the art now, but even the story doesn't let Christian Ward unleash as much as you'd like in a way, science fiction setting. Although, like in this picture, there are times when he gets to really go for it, but not all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's basically what I was going to say, is that it doesn't have the it's not as rich as some of his other stuff has been, and I think that's just because there hasn't been the place for him to do that, largely in this. I mean, yes, it's his own world; he can create whatever he wants to, but it falls within a description. A desert planet, you can only do so much with a desert planet.
And the story is people sitting around talking, well, should we go against the corporation?
Right.
What are we going to do? Or
which does not lend to it's not like the Odyssey, where it lends to this grandeur of bizarrety going on that you could, that you get that other stuff too, or whatnot. So,
They haven't listed this all as a short run thing, but everything from Berger Books so far has been like 4 or 5 issues.
5 issues is the first arc, I've heard Christian Ward say. So
depending on sales, probably.
That would be my guess. Yeah.
And I've been wondering to myself, if it weren't for my own personal hyping myself up because of these creators, would I have dropped this book by now? And I think maybe I would.
Possibly. Yeah.
But if it's just going 5 issues, then I'll keep reading.
Right.
5 issues.
Well, and it's not awful. It's just not,
no, it's not bad.
But I was more intrigued with the Red Line, issue 1 of the Red Line. I'm more intrigued. I'm more invested in all the weird that's going on in it than I am in this, because there's nothing weird in this. There's some cool looking stuff, but not anything that makes me go, what's going on? I need to know the next issue. I need to know what's going on. There's nothing to figure out, I guess.
Yeah, it's pretty linear in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
You could see by the end of issue 1 that these 2 people were going to meet and that they were different sides of the same problem or something.
Right. Yeah. I continue to like Low. We're getting down to there's only a few more issues of it left. It's going on another big break, which is the one downside to this book. It being an indie book, they're going to take the time they need to produce the book that they want to produce, which is awesome. This is going on 5 years, and this is issue 22, just to give you an idea of some of the drag on it as far as that goes. really bad stuff is happening. Most of the stuff and the characters that we've seen from the beginning of this book are all dying in one fashion or another. Either they're being, killed by pirates, or they're suffocating because their places under the sea, the filters have finally given out and they're not being able to produce enough oxygen for everyone to survive. So there's a race to the surface. Of course, when they get to the surface, there have been humans that have survived on the planet on the top of the surface, even though supposedly they thought no one lived. They're radiation baked. They have a completely different philosophy of the world. They think anybody who ran under the ocean and left them on top are scum, even though it's been millennia since that happened. They still hold those grudges. So it's going to be, even though this is a book about hope, it's a book about how do you continue to foster that hope and whatnot. It looks extremely dire. The art throughout it, of course, is Tunichi, which is beautiful art. Dave McKeag does the colors on it, which is great. I will say, like, the first 7 or 10 issues, the coloring is done by Tunichi too, and those are like mind-bendingly beautiful pages where he does his own art. I mean, does his own coloring. But still, I still really enjoy the book. It is a book, once it's done, I will buy some giant deluxe version of the book too, because I'm just really
thinking that I might do that, waiting to see if people still like it by the end. But
right, to see how the ending lands, and I just don't know. I just
beautiful art. I think I probably got the first arc originally, and then
but I mean, it's just, it's got some
that's nice.
Some death scenes that's somebody whacking somebody else there. I mean, it's just all these different elements that are going along. They're going to just be really, really, curious to see how it plays out. But it's, I don't know. I just, like I said, I like it. I like the elements. I really love the art, the style of art on it and whatnot. So it's just really kind of, I don't know how much longer it's going to take for him to get to the end, but yeah.
Is Remender still doing 7 to Eternity? Is that another one that's just slowly coming out, or is it?
It's still going. It's slow coming out. I think that the artist, it just takes him a while to the level of art he's putting out, it takes him a while to get to it. So we got 2 or 3 issues in a row, monthly, and now I think it's now slowed down again and whatnot. So
right. I mean, I think it's been going for well over a year.
Oh, for sure.
Maybe 2 years. Probably
a couple. Yeah. So, but like I said, this Low got released like a month or two after Black Science started. Black Science is on like 38 or 39. This is on 22. But it's been a couple years for 7 to Eternity also.
Yeah. Yeah, a long time ago, I decided to just do all Remender books as trades.
Yeah.
But now it's a really long wait, even for the trades. So.
Yeah. Terrence
was someone else.
Yeah, that's Ian.
It was Esad Ribic was the artist.
Right, and the writer was
Brennan.
Brennan, yes, Brennan, isn't it? Is it Ian Brennan or Brennan?
Or Brendan? Brandon?
Yes.
There's a B in there.
Yeah, you're right. I just can't think of his name right now.
And Verses was horribly, well, not horribly written. It was very meh in the writing, but wonderful art.
Yeah, it was all about the art. Yeah.
I read the entire Verses.
Yeah.
But felt very frustrated with it.
Mm-hmm. There's a few indie books out there that kind of have gone for a while and are supposedly still around, but man, when we're ever going to see, more of it, I have no idea. Southern Bastards and things like that. It's like, who knows? Kind of a deal. I did get the latest issue last week of High Level. I actually enjoyed this one a little bit more. Our 13 here, she has to go into this Sin City to retrieve the little girl. She's been kidnapped and is going to be sold away. She wanders through this city where they keep telling her that no, they don't sell people there. That's awful. It doesn't happen. And she ends up finding it and saves the day. And by the end of it, the city they're in has a direct subway train monorail type thing that is going to go straight to high level. So this whole long adventure travel it was going to take to get there now seems like it's going to be suddenly short. So I don't know how much longer this book is going to be around, which is fine by me. I'm not a real fan of the book as a whole.
Issues to tell your story. Okay, I'll put a train in it.
Right. I mean, that's literally, it seems to me, it's like, so unless something happens on this quick ride, I mean, the city that she's in does direct business with high level. So, oh, that's going to be easy. They're just going to jump on the train and ride it. Yay. So, yeah. Not, like I said, not really, will not be upset when that book goes. So, any others?
I have some books that I can say are still good, and there's not a lot to say about them. I do feel with Skyward that eventually the story needs to wrap up. They've done a good job of doing new twists on things. Now she has found her mother, who's been living underground all along, and that was an interesting little twist. But it feels like now they need to just wrap things up. But maybe they'll surprise me and come up with more twists. But as always, it's a fun story, good art. I know you didn't like the way they did their setup and everything.
Right. I like the art though. I mean, I like that artist and stuff. So
yeah. So anyway, I continue to enjoy it. It's kind of, it's never the best book I ever read, but it's always fun. And kind of the same thing for Oblivion Song, which I know that Kirkman plans this to go on forever.
Right.
I don't know if I'll stick with it forever, but I'm still enjoying myself with it. And he has added some fun new twists, and he has a knack for just moving things along just enough in each issue. Yeah, so that's still a pretty decent read. I'm just doing a few fast ones then.
Sure.
Kaiju Max season 4 wrapped up. Season 4 was quite good, but I still think I like season 2 and season 1 best. And season 3 was a little bit of a lesser season for me. And this is a little better, but by the time it wrapped up, there was a few things I didn't really understand in the wrap up. Which, given I've been a devoted reader of this since the beginning, was a little frustrating.
Yeah.
But there's a cool giant robot giving birth scene.
Nice.
Even though it's now been 10 years since my wife gave birth, I still feel very nervous when I go to the giving birth scene.
That's funny.
Have you got a bunch of other stuff? Or?
This is the only other book I got to, and this is for this current week. This is issue 2 of Faithless. This is a cover I can show. It's Paul Pope cover. It's the standard cover as opposed to the
cover.
They
have dirty covers.
Yes. And issue 1 anyway, I got the erotic cover, and it was no joke. It was it was some full-on penetration stuff going on in it. So yeah. So
did the disembodied voice mind?
No, she don't care.
My disembodied voice, if she ever were disembodied voice, would probably not be happy.
Oh, I see. Mine disembodied voice. She rolls with all that kind of stuff. That would probably be her cover of choice, to be honest with you. So, so issue number 2, we get some more magic elements in the book. There's all kinds of erotica in this issue, amongst other stuff. Our character ends up going to this party that she's invited to. It's an exclusive party. It implies like people like Beyonce are there and whatnot, without actually saying it's Beyonce is there and stuff. And it's this big art place and whatnot. And she wanders around and sees the sights for a little bit, and some people flirt with her a little bit, and she gets herself in trouble because the only rule of this party is you don't take pictures of anything. She tries taking a picture of this band, and she gets kind of thrown out this exit door and runs into this artist who almost knocks her off to her death in this fire escape, but saves her. And it's this kind of really awkward situation with this artist that she's in love with. I mean, she thinks this artist is this great artist, it's like the modern version of Picasso or something like that. And then she ends up back with this girl that's kind of potentially being her girlfriend. They leave the party. She finds out that that this artist is actually her dad, which kind of surprises her. But they get accosted by these guys on the street, and Faith here basically uses her will to tell these guys to basically, jack off and go away. And they literally do that. I mean, there's money shot and all in it. So the girlfriend is like just all turned on that somehow she could just, make people do this stuff and whatnot. That's kind of how the issue ends. I don't know. Part of me really likes it. Like I said, I continue to really like, I don't know if I can see if I can find art that's not. I just really like this artist. I don't know. There's something about her art style of Maria Lovett that it's a really strange. She has her own kind of look. She does her own coloring, her own, so it's all her. Right. It's enough different. But it's clearly her work. I mean, because if you've read anything else that she's been in, that she's done, see, there's this weird horror magic element. I mean, she wakes up to this bat-winged wolf on her bed and then wakes up again, and it's not, maybe it was there or maybe it wasn't there, sort of a deal. Yeah, I just, like I said, I really like her. I really like her. Another book she did is she did There's Nobody There from Black Mask.
Oh, right.
Right. She did the art on that too. And I just kind of, like I said, I just kind of like it. It's just enough different. And this is a Brian Rosiello story. I don't know that it feels like his story or not, but it's just kind of, I don't know. It's strange.
He's a writer I never get a beat on. I mean, I'll read something by him and totally love it, then something else in it will.
Right. Well, some stuff of his I read, and maybe it's the artist that drives this stuff all feels kind of the same. So like if I read Moonshine feels like 100 Bullets, but of course it has the same artist on both books. So it has, kind of the same whatever. But his Wonder Woman, of course, was nothing like any of this other stuff either. So yeah. And his Batman stuff isn't like any of this stuff either. So this feels weird. I mean, I guess for me, this does not feel like something that he wrote. It really feels driven by her art, but maybe not, because it feels some of the vernacular that's in this and stuff feels very young and very feminine, which neither of those things are him. If you've ever met the guy, or I mean, I've been to some panels, comic panels that he's talked at, and this does not feel like him at all. He's kind of somewhat crotchety and somewhat, I'm old school comic book guy. I don't really need to talk to you or whatever. I much rather talk baseball, and I don't know. So
I've heard him interviewed on podcasts, and that's
yeah. So this feels just really not like him. So I mean,
maybe how did the credits go? Does she have something to do with the story? Maybe she developed it and he came in and helped her with it or something.
What does it say? It just says him and her's name. It doesn't say.
No, it doesn't say. Okay.
No. Faithless, a erotic depiction of faith, sex, and devil in the tradition of the Divine Comedy. So that all that appeals to me just anytime. That's a combination of things that we can go, Yeah, curiously, it's by Boom Studio, which to me, this is like way out on the limb for Boom Studio.
Yes. Yeah, a lot of what they do is almost young adult.
So it says in the very back, story by him, art by her, and letters by.
Okay, so she's not
wrote design.
Story.
No.
Interesting.
Which, I mean, but it's a comic book, so clearly she's part of the story because it's a visual medium. But yeah, like I said, this is another of those books I wouldn't recommend to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm liking it.
Right.
So, right. And that's it. That's the books I got read.
Well, I'll also mention, because I always mention Savage Dragon when I'm on your show.
Of course.
In this issue, his wife is, so in a previous issue, his wife seemed to get over her sexual problems and they finally went to bed again.
Okay.
This issue, she's mad at him for having sex with her when she was drunk.
Oh, so is that how she got over her problems? I mean, because didn't she have a whole PTSD thing,
She was raped by a
right?
demon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and other than that, a savage dragon fights a guy who looks like a chicken-headed superhero named Powerhouse, and they do it for a live pay-per-view audience.
Really? Okay.
And that's about it. It was fun.
Ooh.
And yeah, and talk about books, Rick Remender's books that never come out. These just come out constantly.
Right.
And it's a one-man show, so it's pretty amazing there. But I enjoyed it. And have you heard of this one, Mary Shelley, Monster Hunter?
I saw the title and it was Aftershock. And I'm like, I might like that. And I can't remember exactly what it was that made me think maybe I don't want to get that.
The art is kind of hard to parse at times. So I can't decide. I like the idea of rewriting the story of Mary Shelley.
Yes, same.
Her and her whole circle of people that she was involved in. But yeah, it is kind of odd because it's revealed that the real life person who's putting corpses together into monsters is a woman, the daughter of a famous Dr. Frankenstein, who was kicked out of medical school after disguising herself as a man and then being revealed.
Who wrote that?
A man and a woman. Adam Glass and Olivia Quatero Briggs.
Okay, it's the Adam Glass. That's why I didn't get it.
Okay, and so her motivation is revealed in this issue to build these men is so that women of power or women who would like to do things and be independent will have this corpse-like servitor who will appear to be a man with them.
So okay.
Travel through society without problems, but be independent.
Sure.
So that's kind of an interesting.
I like that idea. Yeah.
And so Mary Shelley immediately agrees to help her out.
Sure.
Her husband doesn't know what she's up to and is a little upset. Or not husband because they weren't married, but her significant other, Shelley. So they must have eventually married because she got his last name eventually. But he and her father and her mother are fascinating characters because I think her father and mother were the originators of this idea of free love, such as it was back then. But it's a bit of a disappointment as a comic book, just because I find the art difficult.
Well, that's too bad.
Yeah, a little longer
because I like the idea. I mean, the idea of it and the idea, what you're talking about sounds all cool. That sounds all like all fun stuff. But yeah, I've not had positive things about Adam Glass as far as the stuff he's worked on. I've not enjoyed much of what it was. So I think I ultimately saw his name on it and was like, yeah, I've got enough comics. I don't need to take a risk on something that generally does not work for me. So
yeah, I don't recall specifically if I read any Adam Glass comics or not. I feel like he was on Eric's podcast. Was he one of the writers of Rough Riders?
Yes.
Eric did a big podcast with them.
Right. Him and George, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I always felt after that I should read Rough Riders, but I haven't.
Yeah, see, and I didn't read Rough Riders because of that. So.
Oh, and I finished reading Incursion #4. It was another one of these 4-issue miniseries from Valiant. But it was written by someone named Alex Packendell and with some help from Andy Diggle. And I think I've gotten spoiled by all the Matt Kint miniseries, and this was many notches below that.
Okay.
It was an okay story, but yeah, it was just another. There was nothing special about it. It was just another story of the Geomancer and the Eternal Warrior.
Speaking of Valiant books, did you try Mambo Punk?
No, if it had been at my store, I might have sampled it, but it didn't show up at my store.
Yeah, so I got that. I read the first issue. I enjoyed it quite a bit. It has a lot of Hellblazer elements to it. Because kind of the punk element. Constantine starts out his young life as being a punk. So it's got that kind of I mean,
supernatural in it,
right? Of course, and yeah, hers is
Shadow Man or whatever he's called.
Hers is voodoo. Hers is another voodoo. Some of her power is voodoo based. She has a Loa to start out with that she controls. Her Loa gets crunched in the first issue, and she's now trying to figure out how to kind of fix that and take care of that. There's some larger evil element that's got her concerned. But she's kind of she's got a very punk attitude about things. Screw you, screw the man. I don't need to help you. Whatever. I'm only helping myself. Sort of take. Things that aren't like the Hellblazer comic is, she actually chucks magic around, like a wizard would at times. But I don't know, I as a whole, I enjoyed the first issue. It was fun. I think it's like a 4 or 5 issue miniseries itself. I think it'll be, written by Cullen Bunn. I think it's gonna be some fun. It's got some good art in it. It has it artistically looks like an old Vertigo book too. So all things that, make me enjoy it. So it's kind of a fun book.
Oh, interesting that Cullen Bunn is moving over to Vertigo.
No, this is Valiant.
Valiant. Sorry.
Yeah.
But interesting that he's moving over to Valiant, because they do kind of, at least with Matt Kindt, they've allowed him to do a lot of fun experimental stuff within their universe. So, I think it depends a lot there with who the writer is, whether I end up enjoying it or
not. Right.
I have trouble just picking up any old Valiant Universe book and enjoying it. But
well, and I don't. I keep telling myself I need to buy more of the stuff that's going on in Valiant, just to have because I know there's some good stuff in there and whatnot, but I know sometimes the stuff is so tied into each other that I don't want to get the Marvel feeling out of it, where there's this universe moving thing going on. So I kind of picking at the fringe books as much as I can, the faiths and stuff like that. So
yeah. Well, so we've got to the end, but there is some indie news that I'm not sure the significance of. Did you hear about Lion Forge and Oni Press merging?
Yes.
And I listen sometimes to this podcast from Publishers Weekly.
Mm-hmm.
They were talking about that this ended up being kind of a bloodbath at Lion Forge, which with most of their editorial staff losing their jobs, and that basically Oni is going to be taking over the editorial for both companies.
Right.
And they also talked about how Lion Forge has kept changing their business. Like, they've only been around since 2014, and their business plan seems to change every year or two.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope they don't take down Oni with them. Was my ultimate.
Right. Well, that's
business, and now they kind of own Oni and expect Oni to take over all the editorial work.
Right. Well, and Oni went through a little bit of restructuring too, because there were some people at Oni who lost their jobs. There are Eisner winning, top selling kids type book stuff that some of those people at Oni aren't working there anymore out of the whole shuffle. So it's interesting, some of the people that went away. And it's also interesting, because part of Lion Forge's build is it was it's an African-American centric company.
Right.
And that's what the whole thing was centered around. All the employees were that, basically. And now it's going to be edited by clearly not that. And so it's, I see why it ruffles a lot of people's feathers, just because of what it was. And now it's clearly not that anymore. I don't know if it's a bad thing in one sense, because clearly there needs to be representation and all of that. And this potentially makes it less so. But Oni has a pretty good success record of taking underrepresented stuff and having it out there and representing things. It's just, it has not been focused on African American. It's been more focused like kids stuff and whatnot. They do a lot of that and have been very successful at that. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see exactly. To me, it seemed really surprising, because I don't see how the two
compatible companies.
Right. Other than Oni Press has their own branch of the company that is about developing their properties for other stuff. You're developing movies, developing TV, developing that sort of stuff. And I know that at one point the Lion Forge stuff was being bought or was being shopped or somebody had first looks at it. So I don't know if that's where part of this whole connection is this whole other beyond comic books thing. I mean, I don't know. I'm just guessing.
Sony is better at marketing to the trade market, and that Lion Forge. Well, my impression of Lion Forge, I don't see many of their comics, but that they came up with a huge number of comics, and that they're a result of someone being overly enthusiastic before they really figure out the market or something.
Right.
And so now they've suddenly pivoted and saying, let's sort of hitch our wagons to these people who have a lot of experience with how to.
Well, who've been around a long. I mean,
work.
Yeah. I mean, Oni Press, as far as being a small independent press, has been around for quite some time.
Right. And they've had some things that have probably sold very well in the bookstore markets and such. You know, to me, because they're so eclectic, I only end up reading a few things by them here and there. Right now, it's Kaiju Max. Yeah. Before that, it was, what was that Fialkov book that they were doing?
Afterlife,
right? There's always something.
Well, and I read the Six Gun stuff. You know, there's the Shadow Road, which is the new spinoff of that. I was reading The Damned, which wasn't selling, so we're not going to see any more of that probably. But yeah, lately they haven't had stuff that I'm interested in, but I always look to see what's there, because in the past they've, you know, had some other interesting stuff and whatnot. So
right.
Yeah.
So I mean, but it does seem like sometimes when you merge with the wrong company, it can bring everybody down.
Right. Right.
Maybe, but anyway, maybe it will work out, and Oni will expand to cover more of the kinds of diversity that Lion Forge was trying to cover.
Right, right. Well, and it may help both companies too. I mean, that's just it. It may be, you know, maybe, but it does take away some of the uniqueness of what Lion Forge was.
Right.
You know, kind of a thing where it was like the new milestone kind of a deal, and now it can't be that anymore because it's, you know, now being run by, you know, whoever, as opposed to it being
some typical Portlander.
yeah, basically, you know, so
everybody's white in Portland.
Yeah.
Well, there are exceptions.
Well, yes.
But anyway, that was interesting. I've just
not
even sure. I kept thinking, well, eventually I'll read some Lion Forge comics because they are putting out so much. I see them in the previews magazines, and I don't know.
Well, they're all so deep. The titles are always have numbers in them, and then they're, you know, part of some. I just don't know. I mean, as much as I'm a person who says just buy a comic and jump in,
right?
Nothing I looked at seemed like a interesting. Well, not just easy, but interesting enough for me to jump into, because I'm not afraid to jump in if it's at issue 50 something, just to leap into it, because, you know, clearly there's tons of comics that I've read over the years that I did not start reading at number one. But
company with, my impression is they're a company with good intentions and a lot of money.
Yeah.
But maybe didn't know what they were doing that well.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
According to Publishers Weekly, Oni had problems when they switched away from the regular comic book distributors for their trades to a big book distributor,
right?
Which did sell more of their books, but doesn't pay them in a timely fashion. Like, maybe takes a half a year to pay them instead of every month or something.
Wow.
The cash flow problems.
Right.
So that's why they needed a partner. At least that's the way the people at Publishers Weekly.
Well, that's a better theory than some of the stuff, you know, I had heard. So I mostly had just seen the Twitter, you know, the world's burning down part of it, as opposed to.
Well, I'm sure it was for the insiders upsetting when you see 60 people lose their job. Right?
Sure. Well, because it's not like there's tons of those jobs out there. I mean, it's a finite. I mean, the comic book producing world is actually really small, right? I mean, it's not really that big. It may feel like it when we're walking into the comic book store and there's all that stuff out there, but in reality, it's not very big. And so
it's a few hundred people. Most industries have tens of thousands of people in them.
Right. And so to suddenly have that kind of a, you know, cutting of jobs, that's pretty significant because where do those people go? It's not,
Right.
it's not like you just got on the street to the next one. Even there in Portland, where everybody seems to be, if you're an independent comic book company, that's where you work out of Portland, Oregon. Even there, it's still.
I'm going to put up a sign in front of my house, Sleepy Reader Comics.
That's right.
People.
That's right. Good stuff. All righty.
Is that pretty much the
yeah. I think that's the big thing as far as that kind of stuff goes. So,
well, it was fun chatting.
Yes.
I kept you up late for all the hard, long hours you do.
Well, yeah, this is later than I normally up, but that's okay. I don't get to talk comics as much anymore, so it's worth it since I won't be here next week. So week after that, I should be back to normal.
My daughter will allow.
Yeah.
She screamed a little bit when I said I was going to be on the comic book roundtable.
Oh, I'm horrible. Taking you away from your kids.
She just wants her dad available at all times.
Sure. Sure. Well, I appreciate you coming on and talking. Okay. Tell Quacking Duck thank you.
I will.
For allowing you to come on. Anyway, until next time, whenever that is. Like I said, I appreciate you coming on, and you guys that were in the chat talking and whatnot. Appreciate it as always. Anybody who happens to watch this after the fact, thank you very much. And until next time, whenever that is, we'll see you then.
See ya.